Welcome back to another epic tale filled with action and adventure. As we begin, we see countless different types of monsters ravaging the earth. Humans screamed and fled, trying desperately to save themselves from the beasts. Dragons infest the skies, shooting beams of energy waves at their poor victims, while terrifying orcs, wolves, and other land creatures tear people apart like papers. It all started when the gates opened, marking the fall of our world. Of the countless humans who were helplessly dying to the monsters, only a very small number awakened their supernatural abilities. They are called the saviors of humanity, the last line of defense of the people on Earth, the players. They utilize various weapons, swords, shields, staves, and magic, the very stuff you find in a magical RPG game. Only this time, the survival of the human race depends on it. They tear down monsters with great powers, magical swords, and other methods they can use to retaliate from the other worldly beasts. Among the so-called players, our hero for this series, Lee Hunwook, an F-rank player, is called the Great Steel Emperor. He is called the last savior of humanity. Or at least that is what he has hoped to happen. This thought is shattered like fragile glass touched by a mosquito. Savior, my ass. Our hero thinks that his life has been royally We get to see our boy in a military uniform, struggling while performing one military exercise. We see a group of soldiers sticking their heads to the ground doing as they were commanded. The commanding officer walks down from a stair and orders them to get their heads straight. This military camp is called the Anti-Mon Troop, a kind of military training that players who have awakened their skills are required to serve. Look at that poster though, looking like a goofy-ass cartoon with a bright smile and a thumbs up, as if the training would just be a walk in the park. Well, it does say that they are proud of them, so it must be rewarding, right? Wronged. We see our boy Hunwook having a hard time while complaining with all his heart. He grits his teeth while thinking how the hell did he get into this position if he is the last savior of humanity. They are currently at the Amped Shooting Range, a vast piece of land located in the middle of nowhere where players are drilled to become worthy heroes capable of defending lives. The commanding officer shouts that they are the strongest, then proceeds to scold his subordinates for losing track of 9 cartridges. I'm guessing that they lost precious equipment during one of their skirmishes. While maintaining the awkward position, our hero sneakily uses his power with just the tip of his index finger, and immediately a bullet cartridge case comes flying out from one of his pockets. He meticulously controls the cartridge, guiding it to his mouth and swallows it. It's quite weird to see, but I guess that's why he is called the Great Steel Emperor. The commanding officer asks them one simple question with his eyes red from rage and his mouth wide open, making sure that everyone hears him. He asks them if they are in their right minds. With their heads stuck on the ground and their butts pointed at the sky, they all answer in unison, no. While all of this is happening, our hero is currently preoccupied with something. He stares at the system window beside him and reads its content. It says that the weight of metal currently available for manipulation is 300 G. It would seem that his power allows him to manipulate metal in the surroundings proportionate to the weight of metal he ingests. He chews the bullet cartridge case like some kind of bubble gum with a serious expression on his face. How would he be in his right mind when this is his second time in the army? We go back to the early scenario where monsters are rampaging uncontrollably in the city. We see our hero spit blood as he takes massive damage from an enemy. This will all happen in the near future. While our hero is lying helpless on the ground, a mysterious man cloaked in a white robe and wearing a doctor's plague mask approaches Lee Hunwook. In the background, countless human corpses piled up, indicating that the players have lost the battle. Buildings were destroyed and the landscape of what was a beautiful city is now in complete destruction. An explosion occurs in the distance. The light coming from it highlights the lifeless bodies of the citizens. There were no exceptions. Men, women, elderly, and children were all killed indiscriminately. Yet, no monster is in sight. While holding back his tears, our hero scoffs and says that in the end, it wasn't the monsters that killed humanity. Rather, the human race was devoured by their own, the players. The man in the white robe knows our hero. He addresses him as humanity's last hero, the Great Steel Emperor, as he removes his mask. He then retracts his statement and calls our hero by his name, the Frankly Hunwook. Though the man in the white robe is clearly a human player, his eyes are red and his pupils are those of a reptile, indicating that he has surrendered his humanity. He calls themselves divine creatures. They claim that they have not betrayed humanity, rather, as divine creatures, it was their duty to judge humanity, and so they did. Hearing this self-righteous nonsense, our boy grits his teeth to suppress his anger and tells them that they are nothing but villains. If only he had known how to grow stronger in a year. No, even just a day earlier, he would have easily killed those sons of Undersona. In this series, humans who sold their souls to the devil and began massacring humankind are deemed as villains. The man mockingly smiles at our enraged hero, asking him if he is frustrated. One muscular dude with a weird-ass giant hammer approaches them while the man continues to taunt our hero. At this point, helplessness and despair have enveloped our strong-willed boy, and he is no longer able to hold back his tears from rolling down. The blonde villain says that someone as useless as him, and Frank, would have died right away, even if he had known everything earlier. The buff dude starts to raise his weird-ass hammer, intending to squash our boy with it, while the blonde one states that this kind of death is the most fitting for Franks like Lee Hunwook. In his final moments, our hero shouts the name of the blonde dude Gordon Prey, as the hammer squashes the life out of him. Just like that, Lee Hunwook, humanity's last hero, has died. But to his surprise, he goes back in time. He has never expected this kind of development. Regression is something that only happens in web novels, and it is exactly what happened to our boy. A notification window pops up congratulating him for realizing how to grow stronger along with a prompt stating that he has 10 minutes remaining until metal absorption. Back to their imposing officer, he declares that he will fix the soldiers' rotten minds. When he says 1, he expects them to say soldier, and when he says 2, he wants them to respond by saying mindset. Our boy is clearly struggling with this hellish position. His whole body is now trembling from numbness. He has returned to the past and now his skills are back at their starting point, but that is fine for him. And so the bizarre mindset training has begun. The commanding officer shouts while the cadets respond with the appropriate phrase. Regression is fine and all for Lee Hunwook, but why the did it have to be at the time in the army? A sentiment I think everyone can relate to if they ever regress back to their cadet times. The scene switches to somewhere that resembles a campus. Soldiers are lined up in an orderly manner with their weapons at their backs. The commanding officer tells Platoon 3, Squad 2, to enter the structure. I guess this is the canteen because some of the soldiers are whispering, saying that today's menu will be stir-fry with chicken stew. Man, this is making me hungry. You guys go ahead and get yourself some snacks while you watch this amazing series as well. On our hero's face, words, "I didn't think I'd be back here," are written all over. The commanding officer informs the other squads to stand by. Then Corporal Lee Hunwook raises his hand, but that officer tells them that they need to do something first before they can eat. Our hero protests that they just got back from training. They are famished, so they would like to eat first. But the commanding officer just smirks menacingly, asking what training he is talking about while calling our hero a loser. Lee Hunwook almost forgot about this guy, the army's garbage. Oh, Sanguk. In every situation, there will always be that kind of guy who does power trips. Sanguk approaches our boy with authority and angrily asks him if our boy wants his squad to do the work. Then he taps Lee Hunwook's helmet in an attempt to mock him and states that F ranks like him can't even level up, so they might as well take on more work instead to compromise. That's the sole purpose that they have. Back in his previous life, our hero genuinely thought he'd never get past F rank. As Sanguk flips our hero's head back, he asks him if the F-rankers will take responsibilities if something urgent happens while they are working, believing that they are so weak that they won't even contribute to anything. All other soldiers laugh and smirk as they watch an F-rank corporal get bullied right in front of his squad members. Our hero's eyes exhibit anger while he was staring at his superior, but he is not mad at Sanguk. He is angry about how much of a loser he was back then that trash like this one orders him around. The other party doesn't take his glare lightly though. He becomes agitated and is ready to punish Lee Hunwook. He readies his power and asks our hero if he wants to go at it while declaring that he is a D rank. Our boy takes a deep breath and collects his composure. He smiles and tells his superior that he will do as he says, but at least give him and his squad food first. Sanguk didn't like his attitude, not one bit, and is now more prepared to attack him. But our hero immediately informs him that other people are observing the current commotion. If this continues, people will think that he is being abusive. He adds that he is worried that his superior might get wrapped up in weird rumors when he is supposed to be a great person in society in the future. This isn't how it was supposed to go, thinks Sanguk. He takes Luhunuk's words to heart and becomes calm. And with an obedient tone, our boy says that since it was his orders, they will eat real fast and then get the work done quickly as well. Sanguk clears his throat and tells his corporal good work. This dude made a complete 180 real quick. He scolds all onlookers for standing idly and commands them to go eat their fill. Now though everything went smoothly, our hero has lost his appetite and tells his squad member Park Genmo to go ahead and eat first with the rest. Jan Mo is obviously concerned about his superior but has no choice but to obey him. Sanguk, on the other hand, is totally flabbergasted about our hero's attitude. He hasn't seen our boy act like that before, and he feels somewhat different. Our hero walks away feeling down and angry. He was just holding back all his anger, but in reality, he was about to explode. He praises himself for doing well given the situation. That infuriating encounter holds no candle compared to what Gordon Precky bastard did. Lee Hunwikuk angrily grits his teeth as he curses at the son of Unthunner. If he has to stay in the camp longer because he caused trouble, he won't be able to catch up to that. He eats another piece of metal, which adds 1 G more to his available weight of metal manipulation, which is now at 309 G. He then smiles as he takes out a couple of metal spoons. The reason he went out of sight is that he doesn't want the world to know that he has found a way to level up just yet. The scene shifts to the cafeteria where all the soldiers are having their fill. A commotion occurs when they notice that all the spoons are missing and start pointing fingers at who is responsible for bringing them. One of the squad members asks Private Park Juno about the spoon, and the lad has absolutely no idea. On the other hand, our boy is happily munching down all the spoons that the soldiers are looking for. He gulps them down like some tasty snacks. He then looks at his weapon, the M7 bayonet, which weighs 140 G. If he wants to put more weight into the weapon for more impact, it will be the only thing he will be able to control with the available weight manipulation he currently has. He is facing quite a predicament right now. Cartridges are just 1 G and spoons are only 1.25 G. It will take him too much time to level up significantly. He thinks to himself if what he has in mind is the only option he has. He has 3 days to prepare himself. After that, he has to defeat a boss mob at level 1. His eyes are brimming with determination. He goes and tests his power, lifting the bayonet with his mind. With a satisfied smile, he tells the world that he will show them what it means to be an expert. Fast forward to 3 days later. The darkness of the night enveloped the 3rd Brigade, 1st Battalion Station, Nsun 5th Post. We see our boy Hunwick and Private General standing guard at one of the guard posts. The private can't help but stare at his corporal. He tells him that he seems to have changed recently. Corporal Hunwick doesn't really concern himself that much. While he is looking at his watch, he asks the private if it makes him uncomfortable. The private tells him that it isn't the case. But our hero is currently busy looking at his system window, stating that he can now manipulate 6 G more and his total weight manipulation is 1,359 G. The private continues to explain that he thinks that the corporal changed for the better. Suddenly, our hero walks towards him without saying a word, which surprises Genmo, thinking he said something wrong. But instead of getting scolded, Hunwick asks him if he trusts him. Utterly confused with the sudden question, the private says that he indeed does. Satisfied with the answer, our hero smirks and reloads his gun, confusing Juno even more. In the shade of the night, a gate suddenly opened out of nowhere, spawning ugly L-looking goblins near the camp. With their disgusting appearances, they smiled with evil intentions as they wielded their weapons. They looked down from the top of the mountain and planned to attack the amped camp. At this hour, most of the soldiers are sleeping soundly. One of the goblins shouts their battle cry, but was immediately greeted by a flying knife. The projectile immediately took down the __ in one hit. And the one behind the surprise attack is none other than our hero, Lee Hunwick, who went solo to the enemy spawn. The monsters sneered and growled at him, acknowledging our boy as a threat. Turns out this is what our hero was waiting for the past 3 days. He smiles and tells the beast that he has been anticipating their arrival. Then something catches his attention and he turns around to look at it. The monster he attacked earlier wasn't finished yet. Though it's bleeding profusely from the attack, The ugly creature managed to get back on its feet. He has never failed an ambush in his past life. This reality check made him realize that he is still level 1. This is his second chance at life, so he really doesn't like doing that same work twice. The disgusting monster launched itself like a straight arrow towards our boy, ready to take revenge. But as soon as the degenerate chick closes the distance, its head was cut off by our boy's knife, sending it flying into the air with its body rolling on the ground. The mob is really angry at him now. They all took out their weapons and prepare for an all-out war. The corpse of the previous monster dropped a red crystal-like object. Our hero manipulated the drop, guiding it to his mouth, and eats it. All the monsters watching him were taken back. That __ came out from one of them, and this dude casually ate it. Honestly, that would be pretty disgusting to watch. With a sour expression on his face, our boy remembers this stinky taste. It is none other than a man of steel. He knows its future and is aware that he needs to eat steel for him to grow stronger, no matter what kind of steel it is. Still doesn't change the fact that even the monsters find what he did disgusting. The status window congratulates him for having consumed a man steel, a metal of the other world. It also states that mana will also increase after the absorption, and the expected increase in weight is still unknown. This made our boy extremely happy. It just means that if he eats all the items he comes across from now on, this life's difficulty will be extremely easy. Now that's all said and done, it is time to resume the battle against the monsters. Lai Hunwook takes control of his bayonet and declares that the mukbang starts. Now, before we continue the epic massacre, let's go back to what happened after the corporal reloaded his gun in front of Private Gen Mo. He informs the private that he can sense that metal is moving, which confuses the private because he was informed that Hunok can only sense the metal that he can see, which is actually the truth. General promptly tells his corporal that he will make the report as soon as possible. But our hero replies saying that the branch office won't believe that an F-rank can sense something as complex as that. So Lee Humuk says that he will go and check the situation and would like the private to stay on guard and wait for him and to make sure that he never reports it to the higher-ups. If the military finds out, all the weapons will belong to them and he will miss his chance to get stronger. The monsters furiously charge towards him, wielding their blades that thirst for our boy's blood. In response, Hunuk marched forward as well. Masterfully controlling his bayonet to kill the enemies in the most efficient way possible, he does a barrel roll to avoid the attacks of the vanguards, allowing him to pass through the first line of defense. And with their backs wide open, our hero sends the spinning bayonet flying towards them. Being hit on their vulnerable spots, the monsters can't help but scream in pain. The experienced player meticulously aims for the monsters' feet, immobilizing them in an instant. While the massacre is happening below, one particular monster is watching from a tree branch. Seems like this is a high-ranking echelon of the particular clan of monsters. It has a more buffed physique and sharper teeth. Our hero seems to be enjoying himself tormenting the ugly, taunting them to keep screaming while he takes their lives. Suddenly, one monster managed to get in his blind spot and is about to hit him with its blade. But our boy was quick to react. He put the influence of his power on one of the monster's blades and uses it to parry the monster's sneak attack. Its weapon flew away from the force of the impact and its hand was dislocated. Then, while the was looking at its weapon that was sent away, our boy skillfully cuts its throat with his spinning bayonet. The monster screamed in agonizing pain, but no sound was coming out because its throat was slit open and blood gushed out of every hole possible in its neck. Lai Hunwook is deliberately making the poor thing suffer as much as possible. That way, it can maximize fear, which would affect other monsters as well. With the drop of the mana steel, it is confirmed that the poor bastard has been finished off. He angrily tells the terrified monsters that he was killed from a stab in the back. They got the balls trying to attack him from behind, incurring his wrath. With absolute rage on his face, he declares that if one more bastard attacks him from behind, he will eat the _ alive. Man, I don't even know who is the monster at this point. Such intense murderous intent coming from our hero managed to freeze the dumb monsters in their places. He has instilled enough fear into these unintelligent bastards. As the mobs start to lose their will to fight due to fear, our hero takes a look around and looks for the thing he calls the main course for tonight. His eyes swayed left and right. It was kind of frustrating for him to try and find it with his eyes. I guess in the past he has learned other methods for detecting enemies. The thing that he is looking for is the cunning boss monster who is currently hiding in the trees. Since the enemy is too reluctant to show itself, our hero needs to lay a bait. He sees the corpse of one of the dead goblins and pretends to defenselessly take it, giving the shaman a perfect opportunity for an opening. And sure enough, the hideous bastard fell for it. It immediately grabs one of the plates-like things hanging on its neck to attack Hunwook, making sure it doesn't miss this big chance. Our hero continues his ploy, casually leaning down to grab the Mona steel on the ground. Unlike the shaman, all the other goblins just stand there and watch, still too afraid to do anything. The shaman hastily starts casting a spell using one of its amulets. Run glyphs come out of it, indicating that it has been activated. Sensing the shaman, our hero lets out a sinister smile, one that is of a predator spotting its prey. Now he is just playing the waiting game until the boss finally shows itself. Thinking that he has the edge on our hero, the hideous shaman smirks, confident that he'll take down the enemy by surprise. After it has completed channeling its spell, the shaman breaks the amulet to begin the attack. As soon as the stone breaks, the ground starts to rupture, shaking our hero's foothold. But his face shows that this is within his expectation. He smiles merrily, knowing that he has finally got a hold of the shaman's location. After a few seconds' delay, the rock spikes emerge from the ground, indiscriminately attacking anyone above. Even the shaman's underlings are caught by its spell. The attack is powerful, and the rumbling can be heard back at the camp. But it isn't too strong to cause a commotion. One of the soldiers feels a slight tremble of the ground and asks his platoon leader about it. But the drowsy platoon leader isn't going to let his peaceful sleep be disturbed by such a weak ground shake. He warns his subordinate not to wake him up again for something so minor. Back to the scene of the action, we see the lifeless corpses of goblins impaled by the earth spikes. Yet, Hunwook is nowhere to be seen. All the remaining surviving goblins are under their pants at the sight of their dead comrades. I guess even though they lack intelligence, they still care about their own kind, except for the shaman, who was the cause of all unnecessary deaths. The shaman stares at the aftermath of its spell. A huge cluster of spikes covered with smoke and dust is seen from afar. The dumb is satisfied with his work. He inhales fresh air, standing proud of what he has done. He was extremely happy until he hears a voice saying, "I found you," which immediately sends chills through his bones. Our hero's spinning blade attack clears the smoke in the surroundings, sending the sword flying fast straight in the shaman's direction. As it was about to hit the shaman, he deflects it, showing why he is the boss of the goblins. Hunwook acts like his surprise attack has failed to patronize the shaman. Hearing this, the dumb piece of laughs, thinking that he has spoiled his attack. Our boy's poor acting is quickly halted as he reveals that the first attack is just a feint, revealing the bayonet coming in fast from the side. The shaman notices it too late as it is only inches away from hitting him. This battle is done and over too easy. Or at least it is what our boy thought. He is shocked to see the unexpected development right before his eyes. The goblin boss manages to grab the knife in the nick of time, leaving him with just a scratch on his neck. I guess he won't be called the goblin's boss for no reason. He has quite the ability and skills. Realizing that he was fooled by the sneak attack, the shaman is now enraged. Baring his fangs toward Hunwook, our hero smiles. He wasn't expecting the enemy to catch his blade. But he isn't impressed by the goblin's skills at all. Rather, he is disappointed with his past self for being this weak. The sneak attacks from the two are over. It is now time to fight for real. The shaman stands tall, convinced that he and his gang can take down our boy. Hunwook tries to taunt him to get him to come down from his vantage point, saying that he will slice every last one of them in one go. In reality, though, he is in a bit of a pinch here. He is completely surrounded and the boss is out of his reach. Since the shaman who was hiding earlier is now fighting him hidden, the other goblins come back to their senses and are now in high spirits. To make the situation even worse, a notification pops up stating that he has consumed Mona rapidly in a short amount of time, leaving him with only 40% of mana left. The situation is proving to be of concern to our boy as well. He needs to be more cautious and efficient with his mana usage. Since it has come to this, he has no choice but to use his rifle. While our hero is thinking of methods to end this quickly, the shaman raises his staff in preparation for another attack. Left with no choice, Our boy uses his gun to attack, which he prefers not to since he wants to finish the shaman with his ability and eat its monast. But then something catches the boss's attention. He smiles as he sees something that might prove to be an opportunity for him. Our boy was about to start his barrage when suddenly a voice is heard from a distance. It was from Private Gino, who left his post to look for his corporal. Hunuk was distracted by Jano and immediately turns around out of concern for the private safety. The oblivious Gino casually shouts for his corporal's whereabouts, unaware of the monsters infesting the surroundings. Suddenly, the shaman orders his subordinates to attack the unsuspecting victim. And in an instant, all the goblins surrounding our boy leap off to charge towards Juno. Hunuk has no choice but to prioritize his soldiers' safety. He takes his sight off the boss to assist the private. Juno shouts in surprise as he sees the incoming monsters. One of them was able to close its distance and is about to slash Juno in half. Hunuk immediately orders the private to duck and get down. Just in the nick of time, the bullets manage to reach the attacking goblin before its blade touches the kid. Since our hero knows that bullets alone aren't enough to kill the bastard, he manipulates a blade to finish it off. But the goblin was able to deflect it with ease. These are getting good as time passes by. It's still not enough to defeat the man who was once called humanity's last savior, though as he follows up his attack with a flying knee, then proceeds to unload his magazine straight into the bastard's mouth at point blank. After taking down the first goblin, the fighting expert Huna quickly turns around to face the other monsters. But not one soul is in sight, except for the private who is currently in a fetal position. The monsters all fled the scene, knowing that they don't have a snowball's chance in hell to defeat our hero in a head-on fight. Hunwuk grits his teeth in frustration. The enemies were more cautious than he has anticipated, resulting in his failure to exterminate them. Due to the sound of the gunfire, the soldiers back in the camp were alerted. They started asking about the situation on their radios. Our hero answers the queries, stating that a gate has appeared within the area. He adds that the monsters were confirmed to be goblins, which have just fled the scene after the first skirmish. He takes a glance at the shaking private and reports that there are no casualties in the 5th post. The headquarters acknowledges his report and orders them to be on standby and defend their post. Hearing the order, Hunwick knows what is coming next. She is going to arrive soon. The radio commands everyone to a 5-minute standby for emergency, informing that a gate has appeared in the area. Then we see a red-haired woman getting ready for battle. She is known as the Ants Paladin, Lieutenant Sayo, a beautiful woman with bright red hair and deep blue eyes. Our hero is aware that if she comes, just like in his past life, she will stop the gate and take all the weapons. Any loot that they find from the drops of the monsters will belong to the military at that point. Needless to say, what happens to legendary grade items? The legendary item, Adamantium. In the past, it was the ultimate item that made people call our boy the Steel Emperor. If he misses the chance to get that now, the next chance he will get is 4 years from now. If that were to happen, the same future will be inevitable. He needs to get it first no matter what. Hunwa intends to finish the gate before the standby team arrives. Time is running out and our hero is thinking of ways to track the goblins. According to him, the monsters need a living human sacrifice. With that fact, he analyzes possible locations where the goblins might go. Private General regains his consciousness and is taken aback to see the corpse of the goblin. Our hero eliminates the possibility of the monsters going to the city for sacrifice because their number is too low to invade such a dense population. Suddenly, the radio begins buzzing. A call from the 6th post requesting backup is received, stating that the goblins have ambushed them. The report gives our boy a glimmer of hope. It looks like he still has the chance to get the adamantium first. He grins from ear to ear as he gets ready to move as swiftly as possible. He informs the HQ that the 5th post will assist the 6th post immediately, but the HQ scolds him. They know the capabilities of an F rank and deem that they won't be much help, so they insist that they stand by. But Hunuk isn't having it. He would rather get in trouble later than lose this precious opportunity to obtain such a rare item. Jano desperately pleads with our boy to stop what he is about to do, informing him that this won't end with him being confined to the guardhouse. This disobedience is enough for a military trial. But our hero tells him that the 6th post is either full of archers or mages with only long-ranged players. They won't be able to handle the goblins and would die the instant the monsters get close to them. Still, this isn't enough reason for the private to let his corporal charge on his own, stating that he won't make much of a difference. But Hunnick has one good rebuttal. He says that he won't be going alone since Jano is coming with him. The boy's complexion turns pale as he hears his corporal's words. I guess he didn't see that coming. The sixth post is starting to panic. They urgently need backup, and to top the predicament that they're in, their corporal, Kim Jong-ok, is down. The goblins are wreaking havoc at their posts, and the only thing that the HQ can tell them is to guard their posts with their lives. At this rate, the sixth post will be completely annihilated. The soldiers barricaded themselves inside the guardhouse while the monsters are giving their all in an attempt to tear it down. Corporal Kim is badly injured. Despite that, he still uses his ability to enhance the post durability with his skills while his second-in-command is worried sick about his corporal's condition. Kim has lost too much blood, evident on his pale face. He tells his subordinate that he can't hold on much longer and the barrier will collapse anytime soon. So, the second-in-command repeatedly spams the radio, asking for immediate assistance. Suddenly, eerie silence enveloped the atmosphere. All the banging and crashing that the monsters were dishing out for some reason stopped. Turns out it was only the calm before the storm as we see rocks and stones float in the air. It was the doing of the goblin shaman casting an attack spell of telekinesis. And after the brief peace and quiet, a hail of rock storm flew towards the guard post. Stones of different sizes came crashing in, badly damaging the structure. The soldiers inside can't do anything but brace themselves. It is apparent that the structure won't hold on much longer. The corporal knew at this point that the boss monster has appeared to join the fray. He has foreseen the upcoming scenario. After the guardhouse is destroyed, the goblins will capture them and then they'll raise them to the altar. Then take out their hearts while they are still alive. Knowing their inevitable fate, the corporal decided to take up his arms and end his life by his own hands. That way, it would be less painful. The second-in-command can't do anything to stop the corporal. He also knows that their situation is hopeless. He can no longer hold his tears back. Another round of rubble is being prepared by the shaman once again. With a sinister grin on its face, the boss monster is aware that this would be his final attack before destroying the annoying structure completely. On the other hand, the soldiers' requests were answered. The radio states that help will be arriving now and commands them to load the bow and shoot the arrow aimed at the light, then stand by. The speaker adds that they use the fire skill when they use the bow and to just aim at the light. Even though there's a hint of doubt at the back of the private's mind, he still does what he was ordered to. It was their only hope of survival. While he is peeking at the window, he sees all the boulders getting ready to be launched at them once again. He states that he can't even see anything properly since the rocks are blocking the way. Hence, he can't spot any light that the radio was talking about. Then, in a quick instance, a light shimmered from a distance, and the private instantly knows that it is that light he was ordered to aim at. Turns out, the one speaking on the other end of the radio is none other than our boy Lee Hunwick. He tells Private Park to aim for the light and adds that he will be the one to control the trigger after that. With a flick of his finger, the trigger of the crossbow moved, shocking the soldier. The arrow launches straight to the light, passing through the floating rocks. The goblin that our hero was riding on was struck by the speeding projectile right in its midsection. Then, after a short delay, the arrow exploded, effectively killing the bastard. That whole maneuver only took 1% of mana from our hero. It was our hero's plan all along. He acknowledges the destructive power of the archer and with just a bit of his mana added, he can efficiently kill the monsters. But of course, the other monsters notice what has just happened along with the down corporal and his private. The one who is most bothered by the sudden development is the goblin shaman. He realizes that the pesky enemy from before is back on his trail. He shifts the direction of the rubble towards our hero in an attempt to finish the enemy swiftly. The barrage of boulders came flying fast, but the only thing it has managed to hit was the poor goblin who is currently burning from the fire arrow. Hunwick was able to dodge in time. The archer was astonished to see all the rocks aimed at them disappeared. Then he was instructed to reload his bow quickly. He swiftly obeys the radio and reloads his bow. He was given the same instruction to aim for the light. The goblin shaman came to verify if he hit the enemy. It is noticeable that the amulets he is wearing are now down to only 2, indicating that he only has 2 spells left. All he was able to find is his beaten subordinate about to explode from all the damages it received. The shaman seethes in rage as he failed to dispose of the annoying enemy once again. Meanwhile, inside the bushes, we see Private Juno sneaking his way. He was commanded by our hero to locate the whereabouts of the boss monster. He is debating with himself how he will signal his corporal once he finds the shaman without dying first. Then he gets to see the aftermath of Hunwuk's havoc. Multiple goblins are running around directionless, trying to put out the fire that has engulfed their bodies. The private is amazed beyond admiration. The corporal only told him that he will distract the monsters. But this is more like him finishing the whole gate on his own. As he was lost in thoughts, he became careless and wasn't able to notice that one of the goblins is near him. He gets spotted immediately as a result. The hideous boy screams as it raises its blade to kill the spooked private. Juno's jaw drops as he realizes that he made such a terrible blunder. But as soon as the blade was about to reach him, our hero's flying bayonet arrives just in time, saving the young private. Hunwuk turns on his light, signaling the archer to aim. Then he manipulates the arrow once again, striking the goblin right on the spot. Before leaving the private alone, the corporal signals him to ready his weapon, which Juno hastily obeys. The lad can't help but wonder if Lee Hunick is really the same corporal that he once knew. The goblins fell one by one, leaving the shaman in great disbelief, but still, he ain't revealing his location just yet. Our hero is wondering why the bastard is still not showing itself when its whole army is getting picked on one by one. He then realizes the true plan of the shaman. The cunning bastard is waiting for our hero's mana to deplete, which seems to be the case since Hunwuk's mana is left with only 12%. While he was running around desperately searching for the boss's location, he hears his private once again asking for his help. When he turns around, he sees the goblin shaman holding Juno by the head, using him as a hostage. Our hero tries to use his flying bayonet to attack, but the cunning shaman slowly digs his pointy staff towards the private's neck, stating that he will kill his subordinate if Lee Hunwuk tries anything funny. Our hero grits his teeth with his subordinate taken hostage. His hands are tied now. The corpo raises his hands, giving the goblins the idea that he surrenders. Seeing this, the bottom fodders immediately surround him and try to attack. But as the goblins were approaching him fast, he thanks his private for delivering the checkmate in this dragged-on fight. With the flick of his finger, the trigger on Juno's gun activated. Now we get to see the reason why Hunok ordered the private to hold his rifle like that. He was expecting the shaman to use the vulnerable kid as a hostage right from the start. The rifle began unloading its magazine on the ugly bastard. The __ spits a huge amount of blood, indicating that it has received fatal damage. Corporal Hunwick instantly dashes towards the private out of concern for his safety, dodging the sneak attack that the other goblins launched in the process. The boss monster kneels down from the pain and lets go of his grasp on the private. JNO informs his corporal that he is fine. Hunick was elated to hear that. He smiles knowing that he can now finally finish off the tenacious bastard. The shaman tries to escape, running away with all his might while holding his wounds, but he was immediately followed by our hero's flying bayonet. The blade strikes the monster in its back, but the knife just bounced off. Our hero clicks his tongue as he didn't expect that the boss is wearing a leather armor. Time is running out fast. Juno's mana is left with 9%. He continues to chase the fleeing bastard relentlessly, not wanting to let this opportunity escape from his hands. The shaman quickly runs towards the gate, attempting to enter it. At this rate, the boss will manage to get away. But then, our hero notices that the necklace the goblin shaman is wearing has some steel on it. With his last 7% of mana remaining, he pours everything he has to manipulate the necklace, stopping the shaman in his tracks. His mana quickly depletes, but it was just enough for his attack to land right on the fucker's face. As his reserve reaches 0%, our hero was able to make the goblin shaman eat his bayonet, killing it on the spot. Exhaustion and fatigue are finally catching up to our hero. He is aware that his ability still needs work, but his past body must be shaped to fitness as he gets tired too quickly. As he was catching his breath, a bright firework sets off from a distance. It is the signal of the holy light. That means that the main army has arrived along with the Ant's strongest player, Sayo Yuna. Time is running out and he needs to find the adamantium steel before the army confiscates every single loot. After ravaging the corpse of the shaman, he was finally able to obtain it. But as soon as he was able to get his hand on it, the soldiers arrived and ordered the corporal to raise his hands. Albeit the crystal still has goblin blood on it. Our hero stuck it in his mouth and gobbled it with one gulp. The soldiers asked him to identify himself and tell them his rank and name. Our boy slowly turns around and did as he was asked. Thankfully, he was able to eat the whole manna. His face is covered with disgusting green liquid, though. The soldier recognizes our boy and immediately went to his aid. The men inform the others to take caution since the gate is still open, indicating that the enemies must still be around. Yuna, on the other hand, notices something strange at the scene. She wonders how could 4 regular soldiers take down a boss monster. Then she notices that the wounds on each goblin's bodies have similarities, coming to the conclusion that this is the work of just one man. I guess she's not the ant's paladin for no reason. Her deductive skill is top-notch. Our hero's system window informs him of the successful ingestion of the adamantium, which would take a whopping 10 hours to be absorbed. Nonetheless, our boy is satisfied, and he smiles as they carry him via a stretcher. This nuance won't escape the keen eyes of the paladin, though. She wonders why our hero is laughing in this kind of situation, hinting to her that something is suspicious about Hunwok. Our hero doesn't care, though. The only thing that is running in his mind is that he has finally got the adamantium back, which would help him grow exponentially. Yuna wasn't able to dwell on her thoughts much longer as other soldiers inform her that some goblins are spotted running away close to the 6th post. Meanwhile, our resting hero is now able to feel the difference in his power. Though it would take some time to fully absorb the steel, he can now sense the resonance of metals around him. Today is the day that the great Steel Emperor makes his comeback. Fast forward a few days after the Barracks Gate incident. Rumors are circling around about a certain Frank related to the monster's mysterious annihilation. They whisper about how the 6-post soldiers were basically waiting for their death when suddenly an F-ranked corporal appeared and with a huge sword sliced up the goblins. While other soldiers are talking non-stop about our hero's achievement, one particular officer is vomiting from all the rumors spreading around. It is none other than our favorite sergeant, Osangak, wizard magician of the Specialty Communication 2nd Squad Commander. He refuses to accept that something like the rumor would actually happen. But one of his subordinates firmly stood and confirms its validity. Then one bulky officer commands the soldier to lower his voice. I'm guessing this one would be another Frank bully. He scolds the soldier for lowering his hands while his sergeant hasn't accepted his salute yet. The terrified subordinate shakes and tells them that he will rectify his behavior. The poor soldier's name is Private Park and IL, a short bowman of the 6th century post. Sanguk addresses the fat dude and asks if he who can rip goblins with his bare hands be able to take care of 3 boys and do a gate raid by himself. Once replies that he absolutely can't. The sergeant seconds his answer. No matter how he thinks of a way, there's no way that a worker, much less in rank, will be able to do that. So he deems that it was all just a fluke. But still, even if it was just by mere luck where an F-ranker went wild, it will become an issue for the military discipline. The fat ass takes this as an opportunity to mess with the corporal, saying that they can't let this incident become an issue for military discipline. It was a relatively peaceful day. The sun is up and the weather is a blessing from above. Inside one of the battalion commander rooms, a loud salute is heard. It was our hero saluting the battalion commander and informing him that he has business to talk to him. But deep inside, the great Steel Emperor is complaining about them for not letting this incident slide. Lieutenant Sayo, the Black Paladin of the Paladin Specialty, AB ranker player, is also present in the room as well, along with Lieutenant Lee Minnie, a wizard affiliated with the Magic Corps, a C ranker player with the specialty of Warp. The battalion commander opens his mouth in a very authoritative fashion to intimidate our hero, asking if he really disobeyed the standby order, then successfully, albeit forcefully, repelled the first round of the gate. This terrifying-looking dude is Major Kim Kanguk, also known as Namsan's King of Mountains, a B-rank player ranked 166th in the whole South Korea. Hunwok is fully aware that if he says one wrong thing, he will end up in a military trial, and that won't work in his favor. He wants to at least not end up in the guardhouse. He didn't cover up anything and straight up told the truth, saying that he seized the gate's outbreak while on duty and responded immediately. But the Major is having trouble comprehending how a mere Frank soldier can perform such a feat under normal circumstances. Given his rank, he should have been ripped to shreds. This dude has no filter. Even though he was called the Great Steel Emperor, humanity's last savior. In the past, the pressure that the Major is emitting is still overwhelming for him. But if he steps back now, he can kiss his military life goodbye. With conviction, our hero states how he feels. He says that he feels like he has been scammed by the battalion commander. Lieutenant Minnie wouldn't let such a disrespectful response slide, but he was halted from interfering by the battalion commander. Major Kangak wants to know why our hero feels that way. Our hero continues saying that there is something that the commander has instilled in them ever since they entered the ant. The Major is taken aback by his reply, growing more and more curious. You see, without fail, the Major would always emphasize to the cadets that no matter how low their rank is, if they approach using Ant's tactical textbook, even if they're E ranks, they would be able to face trolls. And that is exactly what our hero did according to him. He adds that the ones he faced are mere goblins, so it shouldn't be deemed impossible. He protests that although he did go against the command control center's order to wait, the 6 post soldiers would have died if he hadn't gone to support them. Internally, the Great Steel Emperor is praising himself for dishing out a rational attack. It is now time to hit the emotional side. He then uses the Major's words once again, stating that for a true soldier, there are no ranks and they should be prepared for the worst and fight with all their might. To add more razzle-dazzle to his moving speech, our hero says that those are the words straight from the battalion commander's mouth, whom he so respects. He took the tactics they learned after their difficult training to heart and did his best to respond by carrying out the strategy with the workers with his life on the line. The only reason he could endure his military life while being mocked and looked down upon for being an F rank was because of the true military mindset he felt from the battalion commander. So to see him deny the results of that belief, he feels like his entire military life is being denied. And that is why he feels like he has been scammed. Let's have a quick glance at the life of the esteemed battalion commander Kim Kangio. Right around when he was appointed as a second lieutenant, the gates started opening. He almost lost his life during a fight with the orcs. But without a second of hesitation, he returned to the army and became an early foundational member of ANT. In other words, he is a soldier down to the bone. Our hero told him that he took his words as his superior, as his belief, and put his life on the line for his fellow soldiers. A truly touching story. So, there is no way the Major would send him to a military trial. The buff dude approaches our hero and squeezes his arms. His whole body is towering over the corporal. Our boy is getting nervous from the Major's sudden silence and weird demeanor. Then, the Major declares that the corporal has just become a non-commissioned officer. Quick, did you know a non-commissioned officer, or NCO, is a military officer who has yet to earn a rank or commission? Such individuals still hold a leadership position within their units, but they rank lower than commissioned officers. At that exact moment, our hero's notification window informs him about the completion of the absorption of the adamantium, and he has acquired a new skill, Steel Physique. His total weight manipulation is now 25,558 g. The 2 lieutenants were flabbergasted with the sudden decision of the Major, with Yuna going as far as face-bombing herself. But the battalion commander is dead serious. He is even tearing up after being moved by the heroic tale of Hunwook. Our hero, on the other hand, sweats profusely as he wasn't expecting this kind of development, thinking that he bit more than he can chew. The scene switches to the 3rd Brigade, 1st Battalion Station Training Room, where the soldiers are preoccupied doing exercises. One of them is our hero doing some bench presses while cursing his luck. He is thinking that he stepped into a shitty situation while trying to avoid the guardhouse. From a distance, Private 1 Second, Sergeant Sanguk are looking at our hero. They look at each other and immediately come to an agreement to mess with the non-commissioned officer. While wiping off his sweat, he recalls what had just happened. Thanks to platoon leader Lee Minnie's dissuasion, our hero gains some time to think about the promotion since there has never been an F-rank player who became an NCO before. But he would prefer to live like a mouse for a while and not attract attention. A little bit too late though. Private Wickuk approaches him and asks if he is done using the bench, which he clearly isn't. The two stared at each other awkwardly. Then Hunuk breaks silence, asking 1 Sick what he actually wants with him. The fat ass says that he thinks that if the hot famous person these days only used this much weight, it would be an embarrassment to their unit. Then he proceeds to curl the barbell. The interaction between the two is starting to gain attention with other officers. And our hero immediately knows that this was all set up by Sergeant Sanguk. Our hero is aware that if he avoids him right now, he will openly start to bully him like in his past life. So even though he has decided to lie low for now, he has no choice. He tells Wick that his arrival is in perfect timing since he's feeling annoyed right now. Then with an irritated expression, he invites the fat ass to do some sparring. Everyone in the gym was shocked, especially the two bullies, but this is the best outcome they could hope for to embarrass the NCO. News spread fast like wildfire. All the witnesses informed the other soldiers that Won and Hun are about to fight. So, the soldiers gathered in the octagon with the two all dressed up for the fight. Lee Wook can't hold back his excitement about the match. He declares that it is time for the amazing Private Lee Hunwook to learn some lessons. So, the crowd is all abuzzed with anticipation. And here come the two young guns chilling inside the ring, ready to bust out some killer moves. Now, Mr. Cocky Grin decides to take the liberty to throw the first punch. But my dude is not holding back either. He is standing there like a boss, fully geared up to dish out some serious punches. The hefty fella swings his fist, aiming to hit the blue head with all his might. And man, that punch even left a trail of pressure. Now we find ourselves outside soaking in the beauty of this shimmering starry night. Two dudes are casually hanging under the streetlight and out of the blue. One of them blurts out in shock about Cho Yen-jun taking a vacation. The dude with the green cap spills the beans, confessing he wanted to witness it firsthand because rumor has it Cho's got the skills to be a legit sword saint. Then the lady standing nearby jumps in to save Officer Chin's disappointed face, assuring him that even though Sergeant Kai Mong Ho is currently the ace, there is another dude in the mix, the future ace. And get this, he has got the barbarian trait. So, we have got Officer Chinyongo, the tactical wizard of the Black Tiger unit, the most elite special forces unit in town. And yeah, good luck finding out more about them because their name is top secret classified info. This guy is disappointed, but still holding it together with his warrant officer title. With a reassuring grin, the lady suggests to Warrant Officer Chin that he might as well check it out for himself since he has made the trek all the way here, and going back empty-handed would be a tad awkward. Now we are back in the arena and it looks like our boy is facing some serious struggle against these incoming fists that practically look bigger than him. But hey, the dude's got some solid footing and is holding his ground like a champ. Here comes another giant punch. But our guy's reflex game is on point, dodging it like he is dancing with fate. So Mr. Fat decides one punch at a time is not cutting it, and he unleashes a full-on barrage of punches. But fear not, my man's got it all figured out, dodging those punches like he is in a championship dodgeball game. Just when things get chaotic, our dude startles, takes 2 steps back, and crashes into the arena's boundary net. The crowd holds its breath. But no worries, he is still standing strong, quick to regain his composure. But wait, before he could make his move, the fat is already gearing up for another punch. And judging by our boy's face, it is like the universe decided he is about to get a serious reality check. Onlookers are in shock, recoiling in fear because this is not the twist they expected. And guess what? The fat dude's punch turns out to be another useless swing, landing on the boundary net while my man skillfully dodges it like a ninja rolling on the ground. Finally, he is standing tall once again, full-on stance mode while it looks like the fatty guy is practically steaming at the ears, annoyed that our hero keeps slipping away with nonchalant swagger. My man casually uses his fingers in a swift gesture, basically telling the fat dude, "Come at me, bro." And you will not believe it. That finger move seems to be sending the fatty into a rage-induced meltdown. Round 2 is about to kick off and the crowd is going bananas with excitement. Warrant Officer Chin and the lady have also made it to the scene. The lady casually drops the hint to Chin that the stage is set up like it is meant for him and now he can witness the audition. At this moment, Warrant Officer Chin finds himself deep in thought and cannot help but question the lady about her take on the situation. In response, the lady coolly mentions that despite appearances, the fatty guy's punches seem to pack a considerable punch. But as we take a closer look, it becomes apparent that fierce as those punches may be, they are not finding their mark on the blue head's face. The warrant shares the same observation, wondering aloud, what is the point of being strong if you cannot even land a hit? Attempting to reassure the warrant, the lady suggests that maybe the fatty guy is just inexperienced, She adds that if he manages to land a proper punch, the dude standing in front of him is as good as dead. Now, let us shift our focus to Sergeant Sanguk, who is practically shrieking at the top of his lungs. He's pointing fingers and throwing some serious shade at the fatty guy, accusing him of going easy on the blue head. With a stern tone, he commands the fatty to get his act together. The rest of the crowd is not holding back either. They join in on the screeching, emphasizing that this sparring session is no joke. They're urging the fatty to pull himself together, especially since some serious bets have been placed on him. However, if we peek into the arena, the fatty's perspective tells a whole different story. From his end, he is giving it his all, and at this point, he is practically losing his cool. Under the relentless pressure from the audience, the fatty guy starts feeling the strain on his body. It's like a sudden heaviness has descended upon him, making every move an uphill battle. Despite this, he decides to lunge at our dude once again, determined to make a comeback. Now, here's where it gets interesting. All the metallic elements on the fatty guy, from zippers to lace holes, start shimmering with a mysterious blue energy. Meanwhile, our man is seemingly manipulating this energy with his fingers, revealing a hidden power, metal control. Using his newfound ability, our hero makes every step for the fatty guy as heavy as it gets, turning the sparring ground into a metallic battlefield. It reaches a point where the fatty's feet are practically stuck in the arena's bed. But he is not giving up. Even from a distance, he continues throwing punches. Reality starts to sink in for the fatty. Realizing he is in deep Despite being in a literal hellhole, the fatty guy does not throw in the towel. He keeps on throwing punches, looking like he is sparring in a swamp, turning every move into an exhausting workout. Sure enough, this puts a smile on our guy's face, and he is thoroughly enjoying the chaotic spectacle. Then out of the blue, the fatty calls for a time break in the midst of battle. He raises concerns about his legs feeling a bit weird. On the other side, the my guy is just smirking, taking pleasure in the miserable state of his opponent. As the dude grins like the Cheshire Cat, the frustrated fatty guy grinds his teeth, calling him every name in the book. This is when the fatty decides it is time to put on a real show. Out of nowhere, he transforms into Goku. His eyes shimmer and a cloud of dust starts to appear in his wake, as if he is undergoing a massive beefing up. This brings a smile to the lady standing beside the warrant, and even the warrant himself is intrigued to see that the fatty guy has a hidden ace up his sleeve. As the scene zooms out, the once fatty ass transforms into a muscle giant, proudly declaring it as his berserker mode. Vines pop out all over his forehead, creating an ominous aura as he prepares to take down the annoying mosquito that has been buzzing around him. Seeing the situation escalate, the steel guy decides it is time to get serious and takes a formidable stance. Now the sergeant is not just freaked out, he is downright alarmed. The sparring match has evolved into something beyond their usual domain. And what intrigues him even more is that the opponent before them does not even flinch or shake. From the Warren's perspective, this battle has transformed into a life-and-death match between two ferocious animals, an enraged buffalo and a leopard with hidden fangs. He's all in for it, finding the spectacle thrilling enough to continue watching. The lady is equally excited. Noticing that the warrant is considering the fatty guy as a worthy opponent, she expresses that witnessing a berserker who can use body strengthening is a first in her life. Now the giant fella stands proudly before the steel guy, tossing out threats that his opponent is as good as under 6 feet in the ground. In the blink of an eye, the giant monster disappears from his place and lands a direct hit on the steel guy's belly with such intensity that the blue guy decides it is time to crash into the nearby boundary net wall. In the crowd, Sergeant Sanguk is going absolutely bonkers. Ecstatic to see our boy finally biting the dust, he cheers wholeheartedly for the fatty guy, adding a wild energy to the already charged atmosphere. Meanwhile, back in the arena, after landing a solid hit on our dude's belly, the giant's hand starts to tremble inexplicably, and steam begins to rise. The dude recoils in fear, wondering what kind of trickery is at play. When he landed that hit, it felt like he just punched steel barefisted. The one who took the hit stands tall on his 2 feet, adopting a defensive stance that suggests he is more than ready for whatever comes next. Taking a peek at his profile card, it reveals that he is a ranked D player, utilizing mana and temporary strengthening of body parts as his effects. Interestingly, the card notes that consuming a certain amount of high-hardness magic metal can increase the skill rank, essentially turning a part of the body into steel. It becomes clear that his steel-like fists are the source of his sly grin and confident vibes. To add insult to injury, he mocks the fatty, calling him a pig and daring him to come at him. This further enrages the fatty, who starts shrieking at the top of his lungs, hurling insults and labeling him as a worthless fanker. The fatty guy lunges once more, but to his dismay, his punch strikes empty air. Seizing the opportunity, the dude on the ground, looking for a chance to strike back. With determination, he starts turning his feet into steel, mentioning that using his skills like this is a waste on a guy like the fatty. Nevertheless, he does what he's got to do and strikes his leg with full force, causing the fatty to tumble down. Now, what was once a giant cocky pig now resembles a chicken, taking a tasty blow to the face with sheer impact that leaves ripples around his expression. Finally, the fatty is on the ground and the steel guy is relentless, throwing punches like there is no tomorrow. As the fatty guy takes blow after blow, the crowd's jaws drop faster than Sangok's misplaced confidence. Warrant Officer Chin writting like a lizard who just found a cozy sunspot. Probably never imagined that his neighborhood had a hidden beast, let alone a steel-fisted one. Meanwhile, our steel guy is punching the fatty as if he is trying to set a world record for the longest combo. In the Warren's mind, it is nature's way. A cheetah finally catching its buffalo. But let us hope the buffalo learns to breathe again soon. Or we might witness a neighborhood wildlife documentary right here. Out of the blue, the pig decides it is time to strike back. With surprising agility, he grabs our dude by the collar, hoisting him into the air with his abnormally huge hands. A closer look at the fatty's face reveals a bruised spectacle with one eye doing the limbo out of its socket, showcasing a lovely shade of purple. Grinding his teeth, the fatty hurls insults, claiming he has no clue what tricks this bastard is playing. As the scene transitions, we finally get the full picture of just how big this motherfucker's hands are compared to our poor dude. It's like watching a kitten being manhandled by an overenthusiastic toddler. At this point, the buffalo swings the dude into the air, preparing for a spectacular crash landing. On the other hand, the dude is now rethinking his life choices, realizes he is royally unhonored. But our blue-headed hero is not ready to throw in the towel just yet. He clenches onto the giant motherfucker's fist like his life depends on it. Using his electrifying legs, he starts grabbing the giant entirely, catching the dude off guard. They're now only inches away from hitting the ground, and it looks like the giant one got zapped out of his mind, stuck in a deadlock and losing his proverbial gorilla. Meanwhile, Warrant Officer Chin is in full-on thinking mode. He's impressed that the buffalo guy, despite being a bit of a brute, has some impressive instincts, avoiding a move that could have broken his own arm. However, as he glances at our dude, he is starting to think that maybe he overestimated the steel fella. It turns out going toe-to-toe with a barbarian using body strengthening is no easy feat in this deadlock, where both are unable to move. The giant guy mocks, asking if our dude is really struggling that much for his life. So, while he is getting all cocky, he then starts twisting the dude's body while taunting him about the uselessness of crashing his arm. Amidst the chaos, the poor boy is screaming at the top of his lungs. Yet, he refuses to go down without a fight and begins bending the gorilla's giant finger. The gorilla, now even more pissed off, is baffled by this relentless persistence. But eventually, he decides it is time to release the dude from his grasp. Seizing the opportunity, our man, in a move worthy of a seasoned gymnast, grabs the gorilla's face with his legs and leaps over him. Swiftly, he places his hands around the buffalo's neck. Now this giant motherfucker's neck is in the dude's hands, ready to be twisted to bring this chaotic neighborhood showdown to a potentially deadly end. Warrant Officer Chin, grinning like a lizard on a sunny rock, rebels in the sight of the dude pulling off a rear naked choke. He's all pumped up, realizing that the beefed-up gorilla is now nothing more than a chicken. After all, body strengthening might pump those muscles, but it cannot protect against a compressed carotid artery. Despite the struggle, the stubborn bastard does not let go of his cocky tone. He taunts the dude, claiming all he needs to do is use his strength to break free. Little does he know, our man has already figured it out, his sly grin giving a hint of the impending lesson. Now we are taking another look at the profile card. It is a reminder that the dude has the ability to temporarily strengthen a part of his body. Now the giant understar is stuck in the hands of steel, unwilling to let this lesson go untaught. As the system warning pops up, it warns him that he is pushing the limits of the strength and body transformation, using it in a wider range than his current threshold. Now our dude is shimmering with blue lightning, a clear indication that he is giving it his all to take down this behemoth. However, the challenge proves to be more formidable than expected. Meanwhile, one of Sanguk's lackeys, in a fit of dry humor, turns to the master and suggests, knowing this fatty stubbornness, he might as well sign up for a lifetime subscription to the afterlife. Our steel fella, in the midst of this intense struggle, shares the same sentiment, wondering why this gorilla is so darn stubborn. With a determined gaze, he locks eyes with Sanguk, sending a silent message that this is a final warning. Sanguk, looking like he just stumbled upon a ghost, is sweating bullets, realizing he might have bitten off more than he can chew. Now, our struggling giant fella is sinking into despair, contemplating the unthinkable, losing to a supposed loser like our dude. His half-closed eyes scan the crowd, worried about the impending humiliation. After all, he is the future ace, and he is not about to let his reputation crumble. The steam starts pouring out of this muscular fella again, probably fueled by a mix of desperation and an overdramatic sense of pride. In the midst of the chaos, our man's eyes catch something extraordinary. The struggling giant's muscles decide to go for a growth spurt, tearing through the shirt like it is auditioning for a Hulk remake. It's like the guy activated another buff, reaching what seems to be his full and final form. However, the irony is that despite these newfound supersized muscles, they seem utterly useless when it comes to matters of escaping a chokehold. His neck is still firmly tangled in our dude's hands. The lizard-like warrant officer Chin, now even more stoked, witnesses this unexpected development. Seeing someone in the D rank using body strengthening twice as unheard of in his neighborhood career, he reckons that if the dude fails to get out of this chokehold, then it is still game over. Those muscles apparently are as effective as a flashlight in the sun. The final question hangs in the air like a riddle: who is the predator and who is the prey? With the scene intensifying, the blue-headed dude presses the chokehold even harder, determined to settle the score. The gorilla is now losing his composure and is left utterly in pain, screaming like a banshee who just lost its favorite toy. In a dramatic climax, he collapses to the ground, taking our dude down with him. The showdown reaches its peak, leaving the crowd in suspense. As the dust settles, the crowd is left in a state of terror after witnessing this spectacle. Meanwhile, Warrant Officer Chin is grinning like he just won the lottery, reveling in the unexpected outcome. As it turns out, my man emerges victorious, standing there like nothing short of a beast. The undisputed champion of this quirky showdown. It's the middle of the night and we shift our gaze to the training building. Inside, a bunch of guys nervously huddle around the buffed-up gorilla, checking if he is alive. Thankfully, he has just fainted, avoiding a knockout blow in real life. Now, we see a curly-haired guy, towel in hand, sprinting towards our dude to give him the hug of victory. However, the nonchalant champion stops his advances with a bare hand, all while his gaze locked somewhere else. And there is Sanguk trying to hide his sorry face, probably turning back to shield himself from the shame of the loss. While our victorious man is attempting to dig into the lost face of Sanguk, suddenly the warrant makes a grand entrance into the scene. He inquires about the name of our dude and without hesitation. The champion salutes to his superior and introduces himself as Hunwuk of the First Company. However, he cannot shake off the question of why this man is here. All of a sudden, the warrant reciprocates with the same salute gesture, introducing himself as Lieutenant Ching Mong Ho, the raid tactics instructor of the Black Tiger Unit. He compliments our dude for the impressive display of skill and might in the showdown. Without beating around the bushes, the warrant extends his hand and invites our hero to join the special warfare raid. At this point, onlookers in the background start losing their minds as they witness the guy receiving an invitation from the prestigious Black Tiger Unit. A wise white head among the spectators remarks, "Did the scout just offer him a position in the Black Tiger Unit? They're the best troops in the entire AMP, and the other one finds it ridiculous." Our humble hero, feeling the need to clear things up, reveals to the warrant that he is just a lowly frank player. In response, the warrant, brimming with enthusiasm, makes it abundantly clear that ranks are just standards set by normal people and they need warriors like our dude. At this point, his inner badass is doing some assaults at the prospect of joining such an elite unit. But on the outside, he remains silent and conservative. He stares blankly at the invitation card, his mind caught in the whirlwind of thoughts as everyone around him seems to be claiming a stake in his sudden military fame. However, his contemplation is cut short when the warrant, perhaps sensing his inner turmoil, asks if he plans to keep him holding the card forever. In the end, he grabs the card, his thoughts swirling with the realization that he might get caught up in confrontations with villain groups later. As he salutes the warrant and assures him that he will look into it, it becomes evident that someone is already watching him. And this guy Sanguk seems pretty pissed off, confirming the fears our hero had about potential conflicts arising from his newfound military connection. In the tranquility that seems to have settled outside, our attention shifts to the battalion commander's office. Inside, two senior figures are sipping tea, engaging in a casual conversation. One of them, seemingly curious, asks the warrant about the current whereabouts of the Black Tiger unit. The warrant responds with a matter-of-fact tone, stating that they have been short-staffed lately. The other, a slightly anxious guerrilla with a force-pleasant smile, reveals that these days guilds even try to recruit talent at the C rank level. He acknowledges the struggles they face, emphasizing that after investing time and effort into training their talents, they often get taken away in the name of external appointments or other opportunities. A serious exchange of glances passes between the two seniors, as if they are rivals sharing the same mindset. However, the tension eases as the slightly anxious guerrilla breaks into laughter, assuming that the warrant's visit must be related to Sergeant Choing Jun. The warrant, wearing a broad grin, confirms this assumption with a simple yes. However, the mood shifts again as it is revealed that Sergeant Choing Jun is currently on leave. Once more, the two seniors exchange glances because they are seemingly competing to recruit and Jun first. Despite this rivalry, the warrant adds another twist to the plot by mentioning that thanks to this visit, he has discovered another interesting soldier. It seems that my man has become the center of attention in this military chess game. As the warrant mentions this intriguing soldier, the scar-faced gorilla falls into a sudden silence. While this lizard is flexing with a grin of his own, the gorilla is lost in deep thought, his mind replaying the mention of the interesting soldier. Meanwhile, we shift our gaze to the towers on the mountains outside where a mysterious voice calls out to our guy. In the middle of the night, when everyone is supposed to be asleep, our hero is running on the grounds, breathing heavily with a man calling out to him. Unbeknownst to them, the gorilla is watching this scene unfold while engaged in a phone call. On the phone call, the battalion commander confirms his identity and proceeds to spill the latest gossip in town. With an air of confidence, he reveals that he has uncovered the mystery of what Corporal Lee Hunwick used to do before joining the army. Back outside, the curly-haired dude is enthusiastically attempting to grab our blue head, who is feeling quite creeped out, and sternly tells him to stop clinging because this show does not revolve around gay drama. However, he's like a persistent puppy expressing his undying admiration, wanting to be his sidekick. So, here's Mr. Gorilla multitasking like a champ. He's chatting away on the phone, casually giving the go-ahead to handle Corporal Lee in some mysterious way. Talk about a casual chat with a site of covert operations. Now, over to our man, who's literally in the trenches despite buckets of sweat and probably a strong desire for a nap. He is powering through that run like it is the only thing standing between him and a lifetime supply of pizza. The struggle is real, but he is not letting that treadmill win. And here we have Gorilla again, making this whole situation weirder. It seems like he has got a major crush on our dude, giving him the eyes like he is the last piece of pizza at a party. As the camera zooms in, we catch that creepy, overly enthusiastic grin plastered on his face. He's thinking, it is not his charming personality. It is just that our dude is the hottest thing in this town. In the bustling streets of the country, people are going about their regular lives. Amidst the crowd, a little boy senses something strange. Intrigued, he starts running towards what he believes to be a monkey. As the boy stands before a dark alley, calling out to what he thinks is a monkey, it becomes clear that this creature is far from an ordinary primate. The boy realizes this as well, and fear sets in, causing him to tremble in his shoes. A closer look reveals that the beast has an enchantment circle on its forehead, hinting at some mystical qualities. It turns out this so-called monkey is not flying solo. He has got a whole squad of these enchanted creatures emerging from what looks like a portal gate. Back at the military base, our curious kid is up to something interesting. Picture this. He sneaks into the battalion armory, a place where every weapon from swords to slingshots seems to find its home. And hey, he is not alone in this arsenal wonderland. And there is also a scene stealer, a fiery red-headed lady. She spills the beans that the big shot, the battalion commander, is virtually giving our guy a high five for his accomplishments. Now, he is also getting days off and a weapon in the house. But, And there is always a but. The platoon leader is not exactly throwing a confetti party for our hero. Now the image of the other eye-patched individual once again appears in his mind. Reflecting on the past, he realizes that he was too fixated on his previous life and perhaps he has not changed as much as he thought. Acknowledging this, he remarks that whether the platoon leader believes in him or not is now a matter of the past. Turning to the red-headed lady, he asks if she agrees, but the lady gives him a silent treatment. And then with a heavy dose of seriousness, she hits him with a big question, "Are you really a smug one?" So, she goes on this epic tale about the sword marks on those goblin outfits by the gate. Apparently, they all look the same, signaling that our dude single-handedly faced the first goblin wave. She is like, "Does that even make sense to you?" and raises an eyebrow. Finally, the dude grabs a sword that could pass for a piece of firewood. He starts strutting around, showing off like he is the hero of the day, and the lady's just standing there totally dumbfounded. She throws a friendly caution his way, saying, "Hey, do not just grab any random weapon. I am backing you into a corner here." But he is all stubborn, insisting he is vibing with this one. The system window reveals that the wooden sword he chose is called the Cloud Blade. It has the ability to absorb water and release a wet fog. He acknowledges that it might seem like a useless and trashy item right now. However, he claims that in the future, Sergeant Choing Jun becomes known as a sword saint with this very sword. The true name of the item is revealed to be the Dark Hand of the Cloudmaster. In the Dangon mythology, there were three weather gods, the Windlord, Rainmaster, and the Cloudmaster. The Cloud's pitch-black hand was called the Hand of Darkness, interpreted as blades hidden amidst the clouds. These blades hidden amidst the clouds were none other than the Thunder God. Upon unleashing its full power, the Cloud's hand becomes capable of using lightning mighty enough to raid a mid-sized monster dungeon all alone. And the boy believes that with the combination of steel and lightning, nothing can beat him. And this time he is determined to wield this powerful weapon. But the lady, completely oblivious to the epic lore drop, asks if he does not think the Cloud Blade is a bit scrappy for someone with his accomplishments. But our dude's like, "No, I am good with this one. Time's ticking and I cannot be picky." Just as they are chatting, the sirens go absolutely bonkers, grabbing the lady's attention, too. The whole military base turns into an echo chamber of emergency sirens, and the rumor mill spreads like wildfire. Emergency gate breakouts. Soldiers start sprinting, yanking on their uniforms like it is a fire drill. Our dude who was all chill a minute ago is suddenly Mr. Serious. He stands there silently looking like he is ready to drop some hero moves. Now the red-headed lady's giving him the side-eye, suspecting something fishy. Why is he not surprised? And seriously, why is he so calm? It's like he already knew about this emergency. Now we are in the city where the soldiers are on guard making sure nothing funky happens. Enter a seriously stern-looking knight lady marching with her posy like she owns the place. Two regular soldiers just chilling on guard duty are totally gobsmacked. One states that this is my first time witnessing the Blue Flower Guild in action. The other drops the knowledge bomb that the Blue Flower sent reinforcements for this gate backup mission. They start dissecting the scene, chatting about those flashy armors and designer-level weapons. It's like the Blue Flower Guild raided a high-end fantasy fashion show. One soldier goes all in, revealing that if you could sell what you see, you would be able to buy a building in Gangnam. That's when the blonde dude spills the beans about his master plan. "I am transferring to the Blue Flower after my service. Going to spend my whole life flexing." Now we see our dudes running his own little platoon, looking all commander-like. He reminds the soldiers that the vice president spilled the beans. It is cobbled gate this time. But hold on. These little buggers may be small, but they play dirty because they use poison needles and gas that hits you harder than fighting giant orcs. And casualties can stack up like a bad game of Jenga. Then he singles out a soldier for a fashion faux pop, telling him, "No rolling up sleeves in the middle of duty. We're not at a beach party." But of course, there is always that one soldier, questioning the seriousness of it all, wondering if the cobbles will even bother coming this far. Our guy shuts him down real quick, making it crystal clear this is not a drill. He even throws in a vivid image of kobolds gouging eyes out just to drive the point home. The terrified soldier states, "No, sir." And just when you think it is over, Our man drops the mask bomb and tells them to inspect those masks because they are talking about poison gas protection in case things go south. Safety takes first priority even in the midst of monster madness. Now, Blondie enters the scene, tossing shade like confetti. He shouts over to our dude, asking if his so-called trash unit is also having a strategy meeting. Then, he goes full-on mockery mode, saying they might be mistaken for the support squad in a raid or something. The poor squad members, taking hits like champs, stay silent. You see, the support squad is like the benchwarmers of the game, composed of low-ranked players who could not climb the ladder. But our blue-headed hero gives Blondie the ultimate side-eye of scorn. You can practically feel the "how dare you" vibes. Without missing a beat, he claps back, schooling Blondie that many cobbles sneak away during the raid. He instructs him not to be all carefree just because they are at the back and sew masks at the ready folks. By the way, the red ground is that evacuation zone when the gate opens. Safety first, trash unit or not. But the Blondie is not having sass. He snaps back, making it clear that he can handle himself just fine. Thank you very much. No need for advice from a sidekick. Blondie throws shade, acting like he is some high and mighty hero, not the lowly psychic type. Our man shoots him another epic side-eye because seriously, who does this guy think he is? As Blondie struts away, our dude cannot let it slide. He throws one last reminder about the danger lurking, but Blondie just scoffs and states, "Sure, Mr. Squad Commander of the shitty squad." The rest of the squad members stay silent like they have accepted their trash status. But our man is still fuming. Those bastards made a mockery of his friends and buddies, and he is not letting it slide. Trash or not, they are his trash squad, and he is not taking any crap from Blondie. Overflowing with frustration, our dude unleashes a verbal storm on his squad, commanding them to get themselves together. With a tone so spine-chilling, he hammers home the point that this is not the first time they have heard it. Or is it? He reminds them that this is not some virtual game. It is real life where lives can be on the line, and growls at them to don't lose your spirit. The squad, feeling the weight of his words, responds in unison, a resounding, "Yes, sir." He goes on, explaining the cobbled petite stature, emphasizing the need to target their emotional sensors in the sewers and narrow passages. He declares that there's no time to waste. You've got 20 minutes, and like the obedient bunch they are, the soldiers kick into action, ready to tackle the mission. The countdown begins, and the squad gears up for some serious cobbled confrontation. Corporal Lee calls out to Soldier General, and like clockwork, he responds with a hearty "Yes, sir." Private Park General reporting for duty. While the soldiers are busy with their tasks, they take a moment to gossip. One of them points out his fellow if he has noticed Corporal Lee Hunwuck. He seems unusually anxious today. The other agrees, noting that he is exceptionally serious. With all the routes closed and the soldiers prepared, Corporal Lee Hunwick is on edge. He's staring at one soldier with a blank expression, giving the poor guy the creeps. It's like his gaze is trying to penetrate the soldier's soul. Feeling the awkward tension, the soldier musters an uncomfortable smile, asking, "What is going on?" It's like a scene from a psychological thriller, and everyone's on edge. Out of nowhere, a needle shoots straight into Corporal Lee's neck, leaving him no chance to retaliate. Glancing at the needle, it is clear it is the poison work of those sneaky cobbles. The dude starts to crumble to the ground. Then a poisonous gas bomb explodes, hitting the soldiers like a nasty surprise. They drop like dominoes, succumbing to the unexpected attack. But it is not just one bomb. There is a series of poisonous gas blasts in the vicinity. Most soldiers have now kissed the dust, while some desperately try not to inhale the toxic green cloud. A few soldiers, quick on their feet, scramble to put on their masks, attempting to shield themselves from the poisonous onslaught. Seizing the chaos, the cobbles take advantage, lunging at the soldiers, hell-bent on sabotaging them under the cover of the poisonous gas. It's a ruthless ambush, and the situation just went from bad to worse. Paralyzed on the ground, Corporal Lee can only watch in horror as his comrades are ripped apart. Then a cobbled strolls down towards him, exuding a ferocity that screams, "Big shot leader of the cobbled party." The dude's eyes widen in disbelief. This cobbled jerk decides it is time to pull a dagger out of his ass and launches his attack. And just when you think it is curtains for our dude, someone crashes into the cobbled out of nowhere. The abrupt collision accidentally cuts near Corporal Lee's eye, adding injury to the insult of the poisonous needle. The resilient Cobbled, refusing to give in, rises once again to his knees, dagger in hand. Amidst the chaos, the injured corporal calls out to his comrade, desperately reaching for help. The comrade rushes to his side, handing him a mask, urging him to put it on immediately. But before Jano can attend to the injured corporal, his head is sent soaring through the air, body left behind in a gruesome display of blood gushing from the severed neck. Helpless, Corporal Lee can only watch in horror as his comrade's head flies through the air. The surreal scene terrifying him to the core. Now, the scene takes a shift to the present where Park Juno questions Corporal Lee about the reason for summoning him. Here, we unveil the dark truth of our hero's past life. Park Juno was killed by Cobbles while trying to save Corporal Lee. What we witnessed earlier was a glimpse into our boy's previous life. In the present, Corporal Lee, scarred by the past, is taking extra precautions. He instructed the soldiers to place sensors in every possible path, a move triggered by the traumatic events he experienced. This explains his overly cautious approach when Blondie was ridiculing them. Now fully prepared for the impending battle at the rear, our hero is ready to face the Cobbles Hedon. We return to the moment where Corporal Lee was calling out to Genmo. In response, the soldier assures his corporal that he will follow any order Lee has to give. Corporal Lee informs the soldier that he will send a signal later. And when he does, the soldier is to take the squad members and leave the operation zone. The soldier, taken aback by this unexpected request, startles at the suddenness of the plan. Just then, a six-wheeler military truck speeds towards them, leaving the soldier shocked to his core. He mumbles, "Armed desertion." Corporal Lee corrects him, stating that it is not desertion, it is a war tactic. In the following scene, transmissions come in about Cobbled annihilation from various squads. Beta Squad reports that Zone 2B9 Cobbled nest is discovered outside a building. We see soldiers are fully prepared to infiltrate the nest with over 200 Cobbles spotted inside. The platoon commander starts giving a series of hand signals, a secret military language that goes over the head of anyone not versed in military nary. With that, they prepare to enter in a wide-range magic of formation, gearing up for the intense mission ahead. With a swift hand gesture, the squad marches through the closed door, completing their infiltration. Inside, they seamlessly transition into a formation, ready for whatever lies ahead. A command rings out to unleash the magic circle and stand by. Following orders, the soldiers activate their enchantments. Fully prepared for the impending battle, Cobs start to emerge from the shadows. In the blink of an eye, the entire place is now crawling with Cobbled swarming like cockroaches in the gutters. These furious beasts are not exactly thrilled to have uninvited guests crashing into their home without so much as a knock on the door. With a wild surge, the Cobbolds launch at the squad, their sheer numbers overwhelming to say the least. Yet, despite the impending onslaught, the squad receives the order to stand by. Following instructions, they hold their ground, allowing the giant cat-like creatures to make the first move. As soon as one bold Cobbled attempts to touch the soldiers, the squad finally gets the green light to fire back. Instantly, they unleash their fiery might, guns blazing, turning those Cobbles into crispy critters. The fire rages in every direction, burning any Cobbled daring enough to step into its fiery dance. The battleground becomes a chaotic symphony of destruction with the soldiers wielding their might against the Cobbled invaders. Outside, soldiers led by Corporal Lee are in action, strategically placing sensors in every nook and cranny of the streets. Zone 2 signals the completion of their attack, confirming that all sensors are successfully attached. Zone 5 also reports their success in the sensor attaching business. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee is using duct tape to affix something to the floor. He's focused on his task when someone calls out to him from behind. Corporal Lee promptly salutes his senior, revealing that he is attaching motion sensors according to the manual and marking the relevant locations with aluminum tape. Blue Flower Knights proudly stand with their flags fluttering, showcasing their presence. However, an orange-headed individual, Lieutenant Lee Minwee, the Wizard Mage class specialty Warp Sean player, does not seem pleased with what Corporal Lee is up to. He makes it clear that the Blue Flower Guild is here to assess, not fool around over a cobbled gate. Lieutenant Lee Minwee further instructs Corporal Lee that the first platoon will commence its operation in 20 minutes. So, the support squad should focus on getting the detox potion. However, Corporal Lee, straightforward as ever, makes it clear that the support squad's mission, as relayed by the vice platoon commander, is to prevent any monsters that might escape from the rear from entering civilian areas. In the background, other soldiers are visibly terrified as Corporal Lee unleashes his frustration at the top of his lungs. The orange head then takes awkward glances around him and starts grinding his teeth upon learning the true mission from Corporal Lee. In a display of superiority due to his high rank, Lieutenant Lehman bullshits our guy with a cocky tone, reminding him not to forget his place just because the battalion commander showed a bit of favor towards Corporal Lee. In a display of superiority, Lieutenant Lee places his finger at Top Corporal Lee's head, sternly questioning him about the guy in the barracks. The obedient corporal, like a well-trained dog, immediately replies, "Privately, Hunwick," to which the lieutenant asks who has only one gate as real battle experience. Again, the response is "Privately, Hunwick." The lieutenant snaps at the boy, questioning the audacity to teach him and demanding that he wipe that look off his face. However, the boy responds with a polite "No, sir." As the confrontation seems on the brink of escalation, a pink-haired lady soldier comes running, huffing and asking the second platoon leader if there is anything wrong. This lady is Sergeant Choice Yana, a caster mage class specialist and a heck rank player. At this point, the orange-headed Lieutenant Lee Minwee is visibly losing his composure upon seeing the vice platoon leader. Words seem to escape him, and he is left speechless. This, however, is all part of our dude's grand plan. The story continued, and our hero provoked Vice Platoon Leader into coming here because she is Lieutenant Lee Minwee's weakness. Seeing the Vice Platoon Leader, the orange-headed lieutenant suddenly becomes all cozy and friendly towards Corporal Lee, as if they were buddies by birth. He reassures the pink-haired sergeant that the support squad seemed to be having a hard time assessing the site, and he was just reminding Corporal Lee of what a real battle is like. With a blush on his face, Lieutenant Lee asks why she is here. The clumsy lady immediately remembers and reveals that the battalion commander called for Privately Hunwick. Now our dude is left confused, wondering why he, of all people, is suddenly being called into action. At the site, tanks and four-wheelers have gathered, forming a formidable force. On top of a building, a commanding lady oversees the soldiers standing tall as they await her orders. With binoculars in hand, she carefully observes the preparations, ensuring everything is in order. And then she spots two soldiers on the road below, and one of the soldier is the pink-head sergeant and the other is Corporal Lee. The sergeant reassures our guy, advising him not to let the second platoon leader get to his head. With a nod, he decides to leave the scene as there is much more to be done. However, the lady gives him a playful twinkle in her eye and a sweet smile, suggesting that others will finish setting up the sensors. She invites him to join her, and though he feels a bit reluctant, he has no choice but to comply with her wishes. Our dude is left terrified with a looming threat and not much time remaining. He wonders why the battalion commander is trying to summon him and what she might want from him. Back at the scene, the red-haired lady stands tall, still peering through her binoculars. A soldier beside her questions if it is okay for their attack squad to be present in a cobbled raid, especially when they are under the battalion commander's direct command. The lady reveals that it is indeed the battalion commander's orders and makes it clear that soldiers are meant to follow the orders given to them. Finally, Corporal Lee arrives at the temporary command post, the battalion commander spot, asking if he heard correctly that he was summoned. At this moment, the scarf-faced gorilla and the lizard-like warrant are present. Corporal Lee is quite confused to see the lizard-faced lieutenant. Though he senses a serious tone in the gorilla's presence, he cannot shake off the feeling of uncertainty regarding why the Lieutenant Chun Mungo is here with the battalion commander. The battalion commander finally speaks up, revealing that he wants to put our dude to the test. He proposes that Corporal Lee take the place of Chin Jun, who is currently on leave, and serve as the temporary squad leader of the 1st Platoon for the second strike mission on the gate. Our dude is losing his mind at this unexpected turn of events. He wonders why the Baldy is paying attention to him now when he never did before. Despite the confusion, he realizes there is no time for this and immediately addresses the battalion commander. He points out that he has only carried out missions with the support squad since his assignment at the base. And this is not even a drill. He expresses his confusion about why he would put the lives of the 1st Platoon on the line during an actual battle. While the outside remains seemingly calm, inside the temporary command post, the air is thick with tension. The gorilla bluntly declares that it is his order and our dude bites his lips, realizing he has to face the challenge. As they deliberate, the Delta Platoon reports that the boss monster has left the cobbled nest. The order comes to personnel on the second and third red rounds to stay alert. Our dude is on the verge of losing his composure, realizing that the kobolds will soon attack the support squad. The urgency pushes him to grind his teeth. He cannot just stay put. The need to get out of there is overwhelming no matter the cost. He decides to address the battalion commander, stating that he has something to say. The battalion commander, all ears, tells him to go on. Suddenly, a silence descends on our dude as if he cannot muster the courage to speak. Meanwhile, outside, the red-haired lady continues peeking through her binoculars and spots a guy running down the streets. Now, the red-haired lady is all confused, witnessing this unexpected development. The guy running down the streets is none other than our hero, Corporal Lee, racing as if there is no tomorrow. Suddenly, he screams at the top of his lungs toward his support squad, continuously running and shouting something about the gas. Right at that moment, the sirens start to buzz and the entire place descends into chaos. Just like in Corporal Lee's memories, the gases start to appear out of the gutters. And in the blink of an eye, the entire area is covered in this ominous green gas. Amidst this chaos, we find him all terrified, witnessing the event unfolding much quicker than he remembers. So, we are back at the battalion commander temporary command post, and Corporal Lee is about to dish out some juicy details to his superiors. The guerrilla gives him the nod to go ahead, and he starts off by saying he heard through the grapevine that this very guerrilla lost his entire platoon. The battalion commander and that sneaky lizard guy lurking in the background are both pretty shocked to hear this. Corporal Lee goes on to explain that this is precisely why he finds it hard to believe that battalion command is now suddenly asking him to join a combat squad just for a test despite him being a lowly corporal in the so-called crappy support squad. He then turns to the battalion commander, his voice tinged with a mix of disbelief and frustration, and asks if they have started to look down on an ordinary soldier like him so much that they now consider our boy just another expendable regular soldier. But the commander immediately denies it, saying it is all just a big misunderstanding. That is when our man with a straight face and an undeniably gutsy attitude says that if it really comes down to following the commander's orders, then he would gladly give his life. Deep inside, he is getting frustrated, wrestling with the fact that he cannot just come out and tell the commander about the truth, that he knows the future. This secrecy is driving him up the wall because, truth be told, he has zero interest in leading the combat squad. In an effort to stir the pot, he decides to lay it out for the commander. If his lack of battlefield experience means commanding someone else's squad, then they are staring down the barrel of a very real possibility of high casualties. He does not stop there, though. He makes it crystal clear that while he is genuinely grateful for the battalion commander's high expectations of him if the cost of validation is too steep, he is prepared to disobey the orders. The battalion commander is momentarily lost for words, unsure of how to respond to such a direct challenge. It is at this point that the warrant officer steps in, reminding our guy, Corporal Lee, that defiance during wartime is a capital offense and he will have to face the consequences. The boy remains silent because he is well aware of the rules and regulations. However, his silence is not out of fear. He is more concerned about the fact that if he does not act, everyone in the Real Guard will die. Outside, everything seems calm for a moment. But inside, the tension is palpable. Finally, the commander speaks up and surprisingly gives in to the boy's wishes, saying that since he insists on proceeding with the original support mission today, he has the green light to go. Now, our guy is quite surprised to hear this, especially coming from this stubborn gorilla of a commander. But then the commander adds a but to disagreement. With a stern tone and a somewhat cocky face, he makes it clear that like a true soldier, our man has to deal with the consequences of disobeying orders later. Now we are finally back outside where the entire area has already fallen victim to this green gas and the sirens are going absolutely bonkers. There is our guy doing his best not to inhale the poisonous gas, all while scanning the area with his eyes for his fellow soldiers. He immediately puts on his gas mask and while he is at it, he is cursing those damn cobbles under his breath. Without missing a beat, he starts to pull out a sword from the enchanted inventory box. Now, this box is no ordinary bag. In it, you can load items for military supplies, and the number of items stored may vary for higher-ups and soldiers. He then pulls out a water bottle and starts to pour the water onto the sword. As he does, a system window pops up giving all the deets about the sword. Its name is Cloud Blade, and its effect is pretty cool. The sword absorbs water and releases a wet fog. And just like that, The sword has started to absorb water with the absorption rate hitting 25%. Now he is geared up, sword in hand and mask on his face, but he cannot see clearly because of the toxic gas enveloping everything. He wonders if he is too late, silently hoping everyone managed to run to safety. But it seems the cobbled creatures have already arrived on the scene, starting to slash at the poor soldiers caught in their path. And right in front of us, this soldier is just getting brutally butchered. As the scene zooms out, we see it is not just one. Cobbles are everywhere and the soldiers are putting up their best fight to beat these beasts back. Then amidst the chaos, one soldier getting the beating of his life starts to shout for help, calling out to Private Park Juno. Hearing the pleas for help, one solider immediately turns around. His resolve hardening, he swings around with his gun, ready to take down these cobbles. Determined to save his fellow soldiers from this nightmarish assault. With blazing determination, he pulls the trigger, ready to take these cobbles down. But it turns out these creatures are not just mindless beasts, they immediately react to the commotion. And before the bullets can even reach them, they start to scatter from the scene, leaving the injured soldier on the ground. It looks like the soldier is alive, but he is far too injured for comfort. Amidst the smoke and chaos that is engulfing everything, the soldiers are doing their best to hold their ground. In a moment of quick thinking, one of the soldiers instructs the injured man to get inside the box and take an MRE with him. Just a side note, the military box is not just any box. It is basic barrier spells around it for transporting supplies and setting up camp in case of an emergency. Taking the opportunity, one soldier tries to drag the injured soldier out of this harrowing place. As he does, a gruesome trail of blood marks their path. A stark and horrifying reminder of the violence they have just faced. The vice president witnessing this scene is terrified out of her mind at the sight of this bloodbath. One of the privates tries to snap her back to reality, but the scene before her is just too gruesome for her to quickly recover from. It is then remembered that she is barely 20 years old, making her reaction all the more understandable. Not to mention, this is her first real mission after her appointment, which speaks volume. Private Park finds himself in a bit of a pickle, too. He is not in a position to back up the support squad soldiers in this situation, adding another layer of complexity to the already chaotic scenario. Just when it seems like the situation cannot get any worse, one soldier shouts at Private Park, informing him that they are now out of ammo and down to their last rounds before the magazines run dry. The cobbles are swarming the area and their numbers are multiplying rapidly. Left with no options and surrounded by the encroaching threat, the grim realization hits Private Park. They might not make it out of this alive. In a moment of desperation, he recalls something and starts to think about what Corporal Lee Hunwick would have done in this situation. As the chaos intensifies, another soldier shouts back, reminding the vice president that Private on Minty needs immediate medical attention. It is a dire moment with the soldiers grappling not just with the immediate danger, but also with the need to prioritize their wounded comrade. Fueled by a bright idea inspired by Corporal Lee, Private Park springs into action. As the soldier announces the grim news that they have run out of ammo, Private Park is still holding on to a weapon he has pulled from his inventory. With a sense of urgency, he shouts for the attention of the support squad, reminding everyone that cobbles are obsessed with shiny things. He unveils his plan. He proposes to use the shiny objects as a distraction to lure the cobbles away. That will create an opportunity for the support squad and the vice leader to make a run for it. However, the vice president is not vibing with this idea and asks Private Park what he is talking about. Undeterred, Park makes it clear that this is his order as the vice platoon leader. He invokes Corporal Lee Hunwick's words, mentioning that the Blue Flower Guild is just outside the red zone, ready to unleash hell on these cobbled with determination in his eyes. Park orders everyone to grit their teeth and run for their lives. As we glance at the monstrous creatures, it is evident the cobbles have no clue what about to go down. Private Park raises his hand, acknowledging that his pathetic electric powers cannot take down a single monster. Yet, in the end, the fact that he will use them to save people brings a genuine smile to his face. With absolute resolve and no fear of death, Private Park charges into the opposite direction. Holding his shimmering weapon in hand, every cobbled in the vicinity turns their attention to him, chasing him relentlessly. He becomes the star of this deadly show, drawing all the cobbles away from the platoon. Once he reaches a safe distance, he signals everyone that now is their chance to run. However, the soldiers are struggling to gather the courage to flee. It is a heartbreaking moment as they realize Private Park has willingly put himself in the line of fire to save their lives. At this point, it seems inevitable that Private Park is about to meet his demise. The cobbles are mere inches away, reaching out to grab his limbs. Yet, Private Park is not backing down. He is running full throttle, reminding himself that if Corporal Lee were in his shoes, he would use his so-called pathetic power just like this. He then imagines that if Corporal Lee were present, he might have used him as bait, too. Just when it appears that Private Park is done for, a shimmering steel blade suddenly comes hurtling down through the air like a laser and starts cutting down the cobbles like cucumbers, turning the tide of the deadly pursuit. Now, the once fiercely disgusting cobbles have transformed into a juicy feast, while good old Private, completely oblivious to the meaty makeover, is still sprinting like he is being chased by his own shadow. But out of the blue, someone pops up right in front of him. He then takes a direct hit and goes tumbling down like a sack of potatoes. And behold, it is Corporal Lee, all serious, informing Private Park that he has heard every bit of the nonsense he was spouting while in his epic jog. But Corporal Lee is standing there, all authoritative and defiant, wielding his sword like he is auditioning for a medieval action movie. The sword starts doing its thing, releasing a wet fog that wraps around the entire area. And voila, this magical fog seems to be neutralizing the toxic gas, casually strolling around like it is on a mission to make everything smell like a fresh morning breeze. So, as Corporal Lee strikes a pose that could rival any action hero, it finally dawns on Private Park that this cool cat is none other than his fellow soldier in action. With a grandiose flourish, Corporal Lee dramatically belts out Private Park's name. Now, poor Private Park is all kinds of terrified. He stammers and mumbles, desperately trying to convince Corporal Lee that it is all a big misunderstanding. He was just doing a spot-on impression of the corporal, and things got a tad out of control. But instead of scolding Private Park, Corporal Lee surprisingly praises him. You heard it right. He throws a hearty thanks at him for being alive, all with a grin as wide as the Grand Canyon. Now tears well up in Private Park's eyes, moved by this unexpected moment of appreciation. Meanwhile, these kobolds clearly did not get the memo about sentimental reunions. They are still marching towards our dynamic duo, fueled by the same energy as if they are on a mission to crash the emotional party. Once again, wearing a grin that could light up the darkest dungeon, Corporal Lee declares his genuine pride in Private Park. He goes on a gratitude spree, commending the guy for his noble courage. Then, with an eager glint in his eyes, Corporal Lee turns his attention to the approaching horde of kobolds. He is practically rubbing his hands together with excitement, ready to unleash a symphony of sword slashes on those little troublemakers. With that same broad grin, he announces that this is exactly the kind of party he was hoping for. A grand buffet of hack and slash. He is all in, ready to devour every last one of those cobbles with everything he has got. And so the slashing spectacle kicks off. Corporal Lee is dicing and slicing those cobbles left and right as if he has found the ultimate stress relief therapy. He is just chilling in one spot, twirling his sharp blade like it is a ninja's whip, turning approaching cobbles into a smoothie. It is like they wandered into a blender and did not read the warning label. Now, as we glance at the ground, the fallen cobbles have left behind some shiny stones they were holding on to. My man's eyes light up with excitement, ready to savor the flavor of every single one. Meanwhile, Private Park is standing there, utterly confused, wondering what in the world is delicious about these monster pebbles. He throws a frustrated side eye towards Private Park because, let us face it, munching on essence stones in the presence of Private Park is a strict no-go. It seems the cobbles have finally hit the brakes, maybe realizing they are on a one-way ticket to cobbled Valhalla. My man shoots them a curious glance, wondering aloud where their big boss is hiding. Suddenly, the enchantment emblem on the kobold's head starts to shimmer as if they are being summoned. The realization finally dawns on Corporal Lee, and now he is in disbelief. The kobolds, as if on cue, start turning around. Corporal Lee is standing there in disbelief while Private Park is still clueless about what the heck is going on. Then, like they have just remembered they left the oven on, the cobbles start heading back in the opposite direction. Now, Corporal Lee kicks into high gear, sprinting after the retreating cobbles like his life depends on it. He immediately yells at privately to hustle before these little buggers put the entire squad in jeopardy. Meanwhile, back on the rooftop, the lady in charge orders the attack squad to hold their ground and shoot down any cobbles escaping the gas zone, coordinating with the Blue Flower Guild to make their way to Cavian. A nearby soldier nods in understanding. However, he throws a curveball, asking the lady if she is planning to head somewhere herself. Now, the lady is really suspicious of Corporal Lee's peculiar behavior because he was giving off vibes as he knew already that this is going to happen. So, she casually responds that she has something she needs to confirm. And just like that, she nonchalantly leaps off the 5th-floor building, descending with the grace of a cat dropping from a pot, landing amidst a swirl of green smoke. Now, we are back in the chaotic battlefield where the Vice President is losing her cool, and Private Minty is on the brink of joining the unconscious squad if he does not get healed pronto, while other soldiers are busy patching up their injured comrades. Suddenly, their box formation is getting shredded. The boss monster enters the scene, tearing apart their carefully crafted formation. The ordinary soldiers are putting up a valiant fight to maintain their grip on the formation. But lo and behold, there is this one kobold who is busting out some magical moves, giving the soldiers a run for their money. He seems to be the ferocious type, so no rocket science needed to figure out he is the kobold boss. But seriously, I was picturing their boss to be a hulking giant rat, not some magical wizard pulling tricks out of his non-existent sleeves. Finally, he succeeds in tearing down their box barrier, and like a swarm of cockroaches crashing a party, the other lucky kobolds join the scene. Judging by the hunger in their faces, it is crystal clear these guys are in the mood for some fresh human meat. The soldiers, now partially in panic mode because they are fresh out of ammo and surrounded by these hungry monsters, are practically on the verge of turning their pants into a tactical retreat. Suddenly, the boss monster perks up, noticing something unusual. The scene zooms out, revealing silhouettes emerging from the wet fog my man is producing with his sword, and the other is Private Park, both running side by side. The boss monster's alarm bells start ringing. Realizing this is not going to be a walk in the park. Seizing the opportunity, my man hurls down his blade with all the force in his arsenal. The sword hurtles directly toward the boss, but with the reflexes of a caffeinated cat, the boss takes a step back, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. Much to the monster boss' surprise, the blade pulls a magical stunt, changing its trajectory like it is auditioning for a wizardry show, chasing its target like an automated missile. However, just before it can land a hit, the nimble kobold takes a swift step down, avoiding the direct impact once again. While evading, it takes a tumble but effortlessly regains its footing as if it is a walk in the park. A little victory dance turns into a frown when the kobold realizes the jar it was holding has been pierced by the blade and is now leaking out. Pissed off to the core, he telepathically commands his lackey to attack our dynamic duo. And so they launch themselves toward Corporal Lee and Private Park. Now, Corporal Lee's alarm bells are ringing loudly as he finally grasps the gravity of the situation. The kobolds, plotting a sneaky attack, take a step back and find their footing. Keeping a safe distance, they start blowing poisonous darts like it is a twisted party trick. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of those tiny needles are zooming toward Corporal Lee and Private Park. But fear not, my man takes a superhero stance, hurls down his sword, and not a single needle makes its way to our dynamic duo. But hold your applause because here comes round 2. Another batch of the same poison needles heading their way. This time, Private Park is right in the line of fire, ready to take the hits. But Corporal Lee immediately screams at the top of his lungs, telling the guy to get down. Sure enough, Private Park immediately leans downward, narrowly avoiding the incoming needles. Now the window system pops up reminding us that Corporal Lee boasts a metal control ability, and the current controllable metal weight is a hefty 2,959 g. However, there is a warning flashing. The metal control transition speed is a tad too fast for our guy's current ability. Anyway, priorities first. Corp Ally ensures that no needle touches his friend or himself. With a swift motion, he deflects all the needles that came their way, sending them off in different directions. Talk about turning poison darts into a deadly game of dodgeball. But here comes another curveball. A warning blinks indicating my man has lost control of the M7 grade sword. And now the blade is doing its own whimsical dance in the air. Now suddenly the cobalt eyes lands on something unexpected. Here we witness Corporal Lee now with a gun in hand unleashing a barrage of bullets towards the kobolds. It dawns on him this particular kobold is not just any ordinary commander. He is literally the puppet master controlling the whole kobold squad. The realization hits hard. Scaring them off will not buy any time. And engaging in a full-blown battle with these little troublemakers is way too perilous. especially with Private Park as his sidekick. It is time for some strategic thinking and maybe a tactical retreat. So, with a quick decision to retreat, Corporal Lee leads the way into the safety of the box formation. Private Park looking a bit clumsy but determined, and Corporal Lee are doing their best to reach the box in record time. However, those pesky cobbles are relentless, throwing their poisonous darts once again. Now, they are just a few feet away from the box. But before they can make it to safety, the darts are closing in mere inches away from hitting their mark. Quick on his feet, Corporal Lee utilizes his metal manipulation once more, successfully diverting the needles away from their tragic trajectory. With a nimble jump, Private Park finally makes it inside the safety of the formation. Corporal Lee also takes a step behind him, sealing the box and leaving those persistent cobbles out in the cold. At this point, the darts are futilely hitting the force field of the safety formation, unable to penetrate through. The kobolds, clearly displeased by this unexpected setback, are starting to get riled up. To really get under their scaly skin, my man decides to flex his funny grin at the kobolds as if he is practically trying to provoke them. It is like he is throwing a little insult party just for them. Inside the formation, we see soldiers tending to their injured comrades while the vice president is having a meltdown on the side. The other injured souls start to kick back a bit upon seeing Corporal Lee finally back in action. Immediately, Private Park turns to Corporal Lee and breaks the news. Private Minty has lost consciousness. It is a serious situation amidst the chaos. Corporal Lee shoots them a doubtful glance, wondering what on earth they are talking about. After all, they have got the vice president, who is considered the best healer in town. However, it becomes apparent that the lady is going through a full-blown breakdown and is too terrified to even move or flinch. Corporal Lee, now with a hint of sternness in his tone, asks her what the heck she is doing. Private Minty is on the brink of departing for the heavens, and every second counts. Unfortunately, she is in the midst of a panic attack, and to make matters worse, she is the sole healer in the state, the last hope for their injured comrades. It is a desperate situation to say the least. Corporal Lee gives her an even more terrifying glance, a silent plea for her to snap out of it. Then he takes a deep sigh and addresses the vice president by her name. Immediately, the lady seems to come to her senses, likely starting to wonder what is going on. As she lifts her gaze, she sees Corporal Lee towering above her, sternly, telling her to come back to her senses. The stakes are high, and everyone's lives are hanging in the balance in the midst of this battle. It is a wake-up call for the healer and chief. Now he urges her to snap back if she does not want to live with the regrets of not helping her comrades throughout her life. Drawing from personal experience, Corporal Lee shares how horrifying life becomes when burdened with lingering regrets. Finally, his words seem to weave a magic spell, gradually sinking into her previously clouded mind. As the magical enchantment unfolds, the kobolds in the distance observe the spectacle with keen eyes. Inside the formation, we see the vice president finally snaps back to reality and starts channeling her magical abilities, ready to perform wonders and heal the wounded soldiers. At last, we see a moment of hope amidst the chaos. The story resumes, and while the vice president is fully engaged in healing, Corporal Lee inquires about the soldier's well-being. She then reveals that he has lost a significant amount of blood due to being late, but she is all determined not to give up on saving him. In response, my man throws her a pleasant thank you with a warm smile. Now he decides to borrow all the blades from his fellow soldiers and starts manipulating them with his abilities. Private Park, in complete disbelief, questions Corporal Lee, wondering if he is actually planning to face those bastards head-on. Grinding his teeth out of frustration, Corporal Lee makes it crystal clear that he is itching to give those creatures a taste of their own medicine. Now the scene shifts and we see someone of high authority cruising down the highway in their luxury car. Meanwhile, the lady, after taking a phone call, abruptly cuts it. It becomes evident that she is quite fond of spiders, as we can see one casually chilling around on her shoulder. As we take a full look at her, we see the lady sitting there gracefully mentioning a plan to pay a visit for some consolation. There is an air of mystery and authority around her, making it clear that she is not one to be taken lightly. On her way, she instructs her driver to head to Idwin. Now, we are back in the arena where my man is casually strolling through the green smoke, supported by the daggers that seem to dance around him. He stumbles upon the mark he made with the duct tape before the kobold attack. As he stands there, we see the kobolds are gearing up for the impending action against our formidable guy. At this point, The boss monster in particular is grinding his teeth at the mere sight of our boy. Telepathically, he commands his lackey to get ready for the showdown. Meanwhile, he is still standing over the duct tape mark, his daggers floating around him, providing a full-blown cover from every possible angle. With a devilish grin etching on his face, it is apparent that the prey has walked right into the perfect hunting spot, and the night is about to get a whole lot crazier for him. Shifting perspectives, we take a full look from above, revealing that this place is the center mark where he strategically set up boxes and sensors at the desired location. The only margin of error is a section of Area A commanded by Vice President Croyana, the pink-haired lady. Now he is all fired up, realizing that it is game over once he gets his hands on the Cobalt's leader, the puppet master, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Right on cue, he whips out his metal detector and scans the entire area, revealing the whereabouts of every sneaky kobold lurking in the shadows, just waiting to pounce on our unsuspecting hero. And any metal he does not recognize outside of this area must be those pesky kobolds up to no good. Finally, the showdown kicks off and he readies his daggers, manipulating them with his metallic powers. Then, just as things get intense, the system window pops up again, dropping the deets about the consume effect. Apparently munching on metal and absorbing it increases the weight he can control. And currently, he is in command of a whopping 2,959 grams of metal mayhem. Finally, he hurls his blades in every direction, aiming at the anticipated lurking kobolds like he is auditioning for a knife-throwing circus act. Meanwhile, the kobold leader has starting to catch wind of our guy's master plan. The blades swing into action, piercing through those kobolds one by one, like they are cutting through a cake at a birthday party. Now these creatures are groaning in pain, and their green blood, which is surprisingly stylish color for blood, is gushing out with every blade hit. Suddenly, one blade gets a personal vendetta against the kobold leader and turns toward him. It is like the blade has a score to settle, and it is not taking no for an answer, but hold on. The kobold leader is not about to kick back and watch his comrades getting chopped down like vegetables. He kicks into full wizard mode, unleashing his magical prowess. He then tries to snatch the floating sword with his magical energy, and would not you know it, he successfully grabs the blade like it is a mid-air game of catch magical style. But wait, Corporal Lee was way ahead of the game. It is like he had a crystal ball for situations like these, predicting it with the precision of a ninja fortune teller. Without missing a beat, he hurls a batch of blades towards the poor kobold, who is already tangled up with one blade like a badly wrapped present. These blades are coming from practically every direction. And this kobold is standing there like he is the designated target for a medieval knife-throwing carnival act. Just when you think it is game over for our screeching kobold friend, he lets out a scream that could wake Super Saiyan 4 before Goku even gets a chance. Corporal Lee's eyes widen in disbelief as if he has just witnessed Superman himself dropping into the scene. As the scene zooms out, shockingly, the kobold has somehow managed to grab all 5 of the blades that were coming at him. Now, this kobold seems to be beyond angry. In a move that is either brave or just plain foolish, my man decides to taunt the already furious creature by flaunting his hand gestures, attempting to manipulate those daggers further. He kicks it up a notch by using his power of steel manipulation, all while trying to sweet-talk the kobold into giving back his precious daggers. But then out of nowhere, the system window decides to chime in with a reality check, warning him that his daggers are bound by a force even higher than the weight he can control. Now he is startled like someone who just realized their superpower is not as super as they thought. And the kobold seizes the opportunity to unleash his lackeys. They get the signal from their boss to attack, and without wasting a single moment, these kobolds start launching needles at our poor guy. Before he can even process what is happening, a needle arrives from behind, ready to plant a not-so-friendly kiss on his back. He finally turns around only to realize that he is in a tight spot. Let us just say things are looking a bit dicey for our hero. Now he bravely stands there taking the barrage of needles directly on his body like it is some weird initiation ceremony for the Needle Lovers Club. The air is so thick with tension you could cut it with one of those fallen daggers, and the kobolds are watching with bated breath, wondering if our guy is now officially a human pincushion. As if on cue, the daggers decide to retire early, falling lifelessly to the ground as if our guy suddenly lost control over them. The kobold boss, looking as confused as a cat watching a magic trick, takes a moment to process what just happened. Suddenly, he snaps out of his confusion and immediately directs his lackey to lunge at our guy. Without missing a beat, All the cobbles start charging toward the dude who just took a rain of poisonous needles like he is the lead in some bizarre deadly parade. It is safe to say things are about to get wild. And our hero might need more than just luck to get out of this one. As we zoom in, it turns out the needles landed on his hands, but quick thinking saved the day. He transformed his hands into steel right before they could turn him into a human pincushion. Now he is grinding his teeth, fuming, more determined than ever not to let this life end like his previous one. Standing up, he casually shrugs off all the needles pinned on him like it is just a pesky mosquito bite. Behold, his steel muscles are now on display. The unsung heroes that just saved his behind from an untimely demise. With a triumphant move, he retrieves his daggers and now they are spinning in the air like he is auditioning for a knife-throwing circus. Our guy is beyond pissed. It is like these cobbles just stomped on his very last nerve. The cobbles launch towards him, ready to take him down. And on the flip side, the daggers are coming right at him with a booming voice and a dramatic hand gesture. He screams for everyone to get lost. The daggers respond to his fury, slashing through the air with a vengeance. They move so fast around him that it is like a tornado or maybe a blender. And the cobbles are getting cut left and right like cucumbers in a salad. This spectacle of sheer strength is so intense you can practically see it from far away. Finally, after an intense showdown with those pesky rats, he stands amidst the settling dust, looking like a warrior straight out of a metal album cover. The Cobalt leader is having a reality check, wondering what just hit him. He directly calls out to this __ of a Cobalt mage. And with determination in his eyes, he tells him it is time to settle the score. And so the Cobalt decides it is time to get serious, taking an offensive stance while simultaneously unleashing a mysterious green gas from his jar, setting the stage for this impending battle. On the other side stands our guy, surrounded by the swirling green gas. Unfazed, he whips out his sword, conjuring a wet fog that pours out to counter the poisonous effects of the cobbled gas. Amidst the thickening smoke, he reminds the wizard Cobble that he has put a lot of effort into ensuring a fair and square match, and he is not vibing with this smoke disguise idea. Now armed with his trusty metal detector, he starts scanning the surrounding area. Even in this dense fog, it is as clear as day to him where this tricky Cobalt is standing. It is like he is playing hide and seek. But our guy brought a cheat code in the form of high-tech metal detection. Now having learned a thing or two from past confrontations, our guy believes it is too reckless to throw the daggers at the Cobalt like last time. He is aware they will just get trapped, so he has to tread carefully. Taking a closer look at the Cobalt, he notices something unusual. The wizard is strangely firm on his feet, not making any movements at all. As our boy takes a look down, a shimmering red energy descends towards him, aiming to catch him off guard. On the other side, the Cobalt is stretching his magical energy as far as possible, attempting to reach our guy. Finally, the energy whips extend and grab Corporal Lee by the leg, causing him to take an unexpected tumble to the ground, courtesy of the Cobalt's energy whip. Now fully geared up for revenge. The Cobalt lifts our guy from the ground and elevates him into the air, going higher and higher into the sky. With a fierce flick, he hurls our guy forcefully from above, sending him crashing into the ground below, creating a cloud of dust in his wake. The Cobalt starts feeling victorious and starts laughing like a maniac, thinking he just hit the jackpot. The __ stands confidently, sporting a grin of triumph. But much to his surprise, his joy is cut short when he hears our guy calling out to him from the midst of the chaos. Now our man's had enough of playing the hero. He is ready to embrace the role of the villain in his own story. Why? Because he simply cannot tolerate a pesky rat of a kobold laughing at him. As we take a peek at his legs, they have transformed into steel before he could even hit the ground. Despite bleeding from his mouth, he is on fire. Not just from the fall, but from the sheer determination to end this conniving kobold who keeps dragging him through the depths of hell, reminding him of his previous life again and again. On the other side, the Cobalt is still spouting mad noises from his mouth, fueled by anger that matches our guy's. He then vanishes from his spot like a flash, but this time he is not going anywhere unnoticed by our guy's keen eyes. On the flip side, the Cobalt is tearing through space at lightning speed, rushing down toward our fella. In a blink, he appears behind our boy, readying his dagger to catch him by surprise. However, our man, showcasing his lightning-quick reflexes, effortlessly dodges the attack by taking a step back and firmly planting his feet on the ground. Now he is even more pissed, not just from the attack, but also from the audacity of this little rat trying to strike from behind. He hurls down his sword right back at him, all the while telling him that getting stabbed from the back is the thing he despises the most. However, this cunning bastard of a kobold counters with his own dagger, but the expression on his face reveals that he is finding himself in a tight spot. Now, Corporal Lee channels his body strength into his legs, turning them as hard as steel, and delivers a devastating blow to this bastard's face. The kobold is sent soaring through the air, crashing and bouncing on the ground like a pebble in a water pool with no brakes. While this sorry excuse for a rat wizard lies on the ground thoroughly beaten, Corporal Lee makes it abundantly clear that he has envisioned this very moment for a long time. Finally, he is having his revenge against kobold backstabbers like him. Leaning over the battered kobold, he states with a mix of triumph and righteous anger that this little rodent is the first one to meet his end at his hands. He even throws in a sarcastic note, telling this creature to feel honored for being the pioneer in this grim lineup. With that mask crushed beneath his boot, my man is grinning like a boss. The battered bastard on the ground can no longer use the crappy magic. And Corporal Lee is ready to cure his past trauma by taking his revenge. He hurls his daggers at the kobold. And like boomerangs, they come back slicing down this rat from every direction. The dagger this creature once held is now on the ground and his smoke jar has turned into rubble. Despite the 1,000 cuts, the rat surprisingly still clings to life. Undeterred, Corporal Lee grabs him by the mouth, preparing his sword like a devil about to strike the final blow to this kobold head. It is payback time, and it looks like the score is about to be settled in the most satisfying way possible. But just before ending his life, Corporal Lee lets the rat wizard know that because of him, he spent years like a He reveals that the daggers that just sliced him 1,000 times were once wielded by squad members whom this kobold wizard killed in his previous life. As the rat's life hangs in the balance, the image of Private Park appears in Corporal Lee's mind. Private Park, a kind and happy soul, always admired Corporal Lee. Yet one day, this bastard had severed Park's head from his body. A haunting memory that still grips Corporal Lee to this very day. It is a moment of reckoning where past grievances surface and the weight of revenge takes a toll on both the victor and the vanquished. With a searing determination, Corporal Lee thrusts his sword into the kobold's belly, exacting a brutal payback for what he did to his comrades. As the sword starts to pierce the creature, a window notification pops up, stating that Cloud Ball is absorbing the blood of an elite monster, and the energy being filled is of an unknown nature. The progress bar indicates it is 1% charged. Ignoring the digital prompt, Corporal Lee drives the sword deeper into the cob's belly. The creature desperately trying to let out screams of agony. Meanwhile, Cobb's own dagger lying on the ground starts to shimmer. With his steel manipulation ability, Corporal Lee brings the dagger towards him, stopping it right before the kobold's forehead. Driven by the desire for payback for the scar this kobold left on his face in his previous life, Cobb's own blade starts to thrust into his own head, slicing the rat wizard's face in half. With this final vindictive strike, the bastard finally meets his well-deserved demise. The system notification pops up again, declaring that Cloud Blade is being filled with an unknown energy, and 11% has been achieved. The notification further states that the latent powers of Cloud Blade will be unlocked when it is completely filled with this unknown energy. But who cares about what this system window is saying? Corporal Lee is feeling satisfied. Finally, he has reversed the first event of his past that had been haunting him, and the weight of revenge has been lifted, even if it's only a little. Now back on the streets, the smoke has started to dissipate. Suddenly, the medallion of the kobold pops out of his lifeless body. Corporal Lee is struck with a mixture of amazement and surprise at this unexpected turn of events. Another notification pops up, revealing that it is the Devil Medallion and he has acquired Inferno. This Hellfire Medallion contains the power of devilish race demons and is the highest-ranked item in the Medallion series. However, Corporal Lee gives the medallion a doubtful glance, wondering why it is appearing there all of a sudden. Also, this Devil's Medallion, Inferno, is believed to belong to a leader of an undead army. It is believed that the undead army led by this mysterious guy was hell for the surviving humans, making him humanity's worst villain. And this villain is a necromancer. However, there is virtually no intel about this guy, and the mystery surrounding him deepens. My man, though, has one crucial piece of information, specific growth traits that they have in common. He has always kept hidden the fact that he can advance from an F rank because of this specific growth trait. This trait allows one to grow through a specific method, not through normal combat or training. We further learns that in Corporal Lee's previous life, he barely managed to end the battle at his blue lava golem workshop, acquiring a mere replica of Inferno, which was an imitation of the original. Now he is filled with curiosity. Why is this original Inferno, the genuine Hellfire medallion, is appearing out of nowhere? He then starts to lose his brain cells, wondering if there is something else he is not aware of. The poison gas is almost gone, so he decides to eat it before anyone see him eating this thing. But before he could take a bite out of it, the redhead lady appears behind him and calls out a name that leaves the dude sweating buckets. Now she draws her weapon and sternly asks him who the hell he actually is, and she further questions him what is he hiding. At this point, this goofball just does not know how to respond, and one thing he is clear on is that he is royally __. Then the spider lady arrives at the scene and cuts through the thick tension with a resounding voice of claps. She takes off her mask and with her delicate lips, she lets out that the battle she just saw was impressive. As this spider lady closes in on the vicinity, the red-headed lady introduces herself as the captain of the 1st Battalion Attack Squad of the 3rd AMP Brigade. She sternly informs her that they are inside a military operation area and civilians are not allowed. However, the spider lady pays no heed to what the redhead is blabbering about and strides straight toward our guy. It seems like she is on a mission of her own and is not easily deterred by military protocols. Without beating around the bush, she greets our guy and introduces herself as Catherine Yu, the head of the Soul Attack Unit of the Blue Flower Guild. She also extends her hand with her guild card. The boy is playing hard to get, ignoring the lady's fancy moves as she clings to that card like it is the last slice of pizza at a party. She throws him a curveball, asking if he has been living under a rock and does not recognize her. But from the expression on his face, it is crystal clear he is not suffering from amnesia. Turns out she is on his hit list and revenge is on his mind. Now let us rewind and peek into his past. There is this feisty redhead with a shield bigger than my weekend plans, trying to play a firefighter and stop the flames from toasting her marshmallows. In the midst of the chaos, she is giving the dude a lecture telling him to get his act together and insists him to survive this hot mess. Corporal Lee tells her to get out of the way, but this lady's playing statue and refuses to budge. And later, she ends up being the tragic victim of these creatures crawling above her. And the reason for her death falls on this lady, Yuena, a true murder of Sayo. Now, back to the present. The spider lady, not receiving any response from our guy, assumes he probably does not recognize her. Nonetheless, she leaves him with one thing clear. Rejecting her offer means losing a huge opportunity laid in front of him. But our dude could not care less about her glorified guild and is probably daydreaming about giving her face a makeover. The tension is thicker than peanut butter on a winter morning. Then out of the blue, the redhead breaks the tension, reminding Miss Spider that this is not a tea party. It is a military zone and orders her to skeetle pronto. Spider lady, feeling the heat, lets out a frustrated sigh. With a glare that could freeze the sun, she snaps back, reminding the redhead about military decorum. She insists on being addressed by her proper title, the head honcho of the Soul Attack Squad from the Blue Flower Guild. Now, it is like a staring contest on steroids between these two ladies, shooting daggers at each other with just their eyes. My man's caught in the crossfire of this intense glare-off, feeling as uncomfortable as a cat at a dog show. But just when things could not get any more awkward, a military truck makes its dramatic entrance in the scene. The thing screeches to a halt, grabbing everyone's attention. Out steps none other than the big cheese himself, the battalion commander. The commander scans the scene first left, where he spots the deceased cobbles, then right, where their leader lies sprawled out like a discarded sandwich wrapper. At this point, Corporal Lee is sweating buckets now, envisioning all sorts of doom and gloom scenarios. Then the commander starts shooting him a skeptical look. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee's mind is doing the limbo out of his body, attempting to slip away from his physical self, urging him to handle this understand on his own. So, we are back in action, and the battalion commander slices right through the heavy air of tension when he meets the department head of the Soul Attack Squads. With a grin, he says it has been ages since they last faced off. The lady fires back with the same vibe, wondering how things are holding up. Then the battalion commander does not miss a beat to show his thanks for the reinforcements sent over by the Blue Flower Guild. But he lays it down straight. This is military ops territory, and sneaking into the action zone without the green light is a no-go, even for the Blue Flower Guild. So he politely but firmly suggests she makes an exit. She then lets out a sigh of disappointment, rolling her eyes at how predictably inflexible typical soldiers can be. Yet to pique everyone's curiosity, she hints she was just about to get to the best part of the story. But she decides to let it go. Then out of the blue, she kisses the guild card she has been holding, leaving a delicate mark of her lipstick on it, and slides it into our guy's uniform pocket. With a wink, she tells him to call her later. After that, the lady makes a grand exit from the restricted area, and the battalion commander immediately calls over our boy, the corporal. The corporal snaps to attention and reports in. The commander then drops the bombshell. From this moment on, the corporal himself is being promoted to squad commander for the Cobalt operation. He orders him to make the rescue of the survivors the top priority and entrusts him with the task of assigning roles to the squad members. Corporal Lee does not say a word in front of his senior. He just takes it all in stride. But deep down, he is really not feeling the whole spiel the commander has dumped on him. The commander then lays down another order, telling him that once the dust settles and the operation wraps up, Corporal Lee needs to report back to him in person for a debriefing. With the unyielding energy of a soldier, Corporal Lee responds with a crisp yes, sir. But just as they are about to part ways, the redhead lady shoots him a soul-piercing glance. And just like that, Corporal Lee feels a shiver run down his spine. All thanks to her intense gaze. A week has flown by, and we are outside the 3rd Armored Brigade, 1st Battalion, where everything seems peaceful. Suddenly, a system notification pops up announcing that the absorption of Devil's Medallion metal is complete, and the controllable metal weight has increased by 499 g. Now, Corporal Lee can manipulate a total weight of 3,458 g with his powers. Shifting the scene, we find ourselves outside the boys' bathroom where it sounds like someone's really going through it, puking their guts out. Then another notification pops up, warning that a breath room is forming in our guy's stomach, currently at 1%. This could lead to excruciating pain for the time being. When we finally see Corporal Lee, it is clear the Devil's Medallion he devoured is wreaking havoc on him. Flames seem to be escaping his mouth, and because his body is weak, the toilet is taking on him is much more painful than it should be. Private Park makes his entrance into the toilet, his playful nature on full display. Leaning towards the door of the cubicle Corporal Lee is in, he flashes a mischievous grin and teasingly asks if the corporal is enjoying some nice alone time. But inside that toilet room, it is clear that what is happening is far from what Private Park imagines. It is not a pleasant experience by any means. Corporal Lee's entire body is steaming with light trying to burst from the corners of his eyes and mouth as if a heater has been cranked up inside him. The reaction intensifies, heating up the entire toilet room. And now Private Park is the one feeling chills running down his spine, wondering what in the hell this guy is up to. Rewinding the clock to when the whole cobbled gate scenario unfolded, everyone had underestimated the creature's infiltration, leading to a high number of casualties among the soldiers. But fortunately, the Vice President with her healing powers managed to pull Private Onique back from the brink of death. He was then safely transported to the military hospital. After that nightmarish day, Corporal Lee had a change of heart. He realized he could not shoulder the burden of protection all by himself. So he began training the support squad members, aiming for them to at least be able to defend themselves. This shift in strategy was not just a learning curve. It also brought its own set of challenges. However, this change sparked an unexpected development. The Vice President started paying more attention to Corporal Lee, something he found more than a little unsettling. It was not just the occasional glance or casual check-in. It felt like he was under a microscope, and frankly, he was not here for it. Now we catch a glimpse of the Vice Platoon President nagging Corporal Lee yet again. Our guy, clearly not on the same wavelength, asks in a dejected tone, "What do you want now?" It is like he is running out of patience for these encounters. On the flip side, we have got this orange-headed __ steaming with anger. He is a second problem Corporal Lee finds himself dealing with. Ever since the battalion commander started showing our boy some extra attention, suggesting he quit his current role to become a non-commissioned officer, this orange-haired individual has been on edge. But honestly, Corporal Lee is not feeling all this spotlight. It is not his scene yet. He is not the type to outright defy orders or suggestions from his seniors. The commander harbors a firm belief in shaping an ideal military culture, one where ranks do not dictate every interaction, aiming for a more unified team-oriented approach. He sees Corporal Lee as a crucial piece of this puzzle, someone who could help realize this vision. And there is Corporal Lee scratching his head, wondering why on earth he has been chosen to help this guerrilla achieve his ambitious dreams. Despite his reservations and not being fully on board with this whole setup, he ends up telling the commander he will think it over during his vacation. And just like that, 3 weeks whisked away, bringing us to the much-awaited vacation day. Day 1 kicks in, and we find ourselves outside Seoul Station, where we see someone is holding down the fort outside the toilet room. Meanwhile, our corporal is dealing with the same stomach issues that have become a regular feature lately. But wait, a system window pops up out of the blue, congratulating our guy for meeting some special conditions. As a reward, he has been granted a shiny new skill. Introducing the latest addition to Corporal Lee's repertoire, Breath Room Fire. It is a grade D skill, boasting the power to turbocharge his metal absorption by 50 to 250%. But there is a downside of it. The more efficient the furnace, the higher the inflicted pain. Now, here comes the second act of this skill named Fire Breath. Corporal Lee can store some of his metal in a breath chamber and unleash it as, you guessed it, fiery breath. The weight limit is a cool 3 kilograms per breath. And interestingly, fulfilling some hidden conditions can actually level up this skill. Corporal Lee emerges from the bathroom looking like he just wrestled a dragon in one. Finally, over with his stomach issues, there will not be any rumors circulating about him engaging in bizarre bathroom antics. As he stands before the dressing mirror, he cannot help but reflect on the harsh reality. He is not sure if his current powers and abilities are up to the task of handling the next gate. In a somber moment, we are transported back to a grim episode in his past. The battalion commander facing an angry mob of people questioned about his commitment to helping and the potential abandonment of Seoul Station. The crowd demands clarification, wondering if the commander plans to forsake the citizens inside the station. Inside the station building, innocent civilians are trapped, screaming for help, their bodies covered in blood from head to toe. These haunting memories continue to plague Corporal Lee, and he is determined not to let history repeat itself. The thought of innocent lives at stake fuels his resolve, pushing him to do whatever it takes to change the gruesome future, even if it costs him his own life. It is a heavy burden he carries. But Corporal Lee is dead set on rewriting the narrative and preventing the horrors he witnessed from playing out once again. As Corporal Lee strides down the familiar halls of Seoul Station, he is determined to use this vacation to gear up for the looming threat. Dead set on changing the future of the city. Meanwhile, the Vice President, looking like she is ready to unwind, is about to light up a cigarette. She casually remarks about how it has been ages since her last vacation and also throws in a colorful comment about military life, which are actually not that colorful. But her plans are thwarted as her lighter decides to play hard to get, leaving her cigarette unlit and probably her mood a little darker. Just as frustration sets in, the universe decides to intervene. Their paths cross and in a serendipitous moment, Corporal Lee and the Vice President lock eyes. She, in her slightly vexed state, asks him the burning question, "Do you have a lighter?" An awkward tension starts to descend between them, mainly because the Vice President has never revealed her casual and real personality to anyone before. The sun, meanwhile, is cranking up the heat, and beneath the blazing sun, we see a train barrels along its tracks. Inside, the Vice President and Corporal Lee find themselves sharing a seat, plunging into an uncomfortable silence that hangs heavy in the air. Breaking the awkward tension, she finally looks towards him and decides to initiate a casual conversation. She asks if this is his first vacation in a while, assuming his parents must be thrilled to see him, but with an unfazed expression, he calmly reveals that neither of his parents is alive. They passed away when he was young. The unexpected response sends a chill down the Vice President's spine, and she is left pouting, realizing she might have inadvertently made things even more awkward than before. Noticing the Vice President sulking, Corporal Lee decides to take the initiative. Flashing a pleasant smile, he reassures her that it is all good. While his younger years were tough and lonely, after losing his parents, he found a second family among people he met as an adult. The Vice President, intrigued, is keen to learn more about who he considers his family. Corporal Lee starts recalling memories where people close to him stand, calling out his name. With nonchalance, he mentions friends and co-workers, and then with a subtle emphasis, he adds comrades in arms. Of course, it is a casual way of encapsulating the unique bond formed in the military, a camaraderie that goes beyond mere friendship. Now that he has finally touched down in Yongyangpo, there is only one thing playing on Corporal Lee's mind. With just 4 days and 3 nights for this whirlwind vacation, he has got to prep himself for the future. With a broad grin, he spills the beans that topping his prep list is the timeless classic, getting his hands on some cold, hard cash. Now he finds himself squinting at a guild advertisement billboard like it is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Turns out the big wig behind the company, Blue Tree, is swimming in a pool of trillions. Meet Gordon Prey, the dude casually sipping his vine while raindrops of dollar bills fall around him. His black money swims underwater. Mr. Moneybag here has not only purchased high-ranking powerful folks, but also some serious players and valuable items. Slowly but surely, he has taken the reins and turned everything into his own personal playground. According to our hero's insider scoop, they lost to the villain for a variety of reasons. But at the heart of it all was the green stuff. Yes, you heard it right. It's all money. So, our hero spills the beans that reaching Gordon Prey's level of wealth is like trying to catch a unicorn, and it's impossible. But he is not aiming for unicorn status, just enough cash to sidestep troubles and avoid getting caught up in Gordon's web. Lucky for my man, being a time-traveling wizard means he has got the lowdown on all the future money-making events and exactly where and when the cash will pile up. In a nutshell, he has figured out that if he throws some coins into the investment fountain before everyone else, even pocket change can turn into a money avalanche. But, and there is always a but, he needs a partner in crime who will not bail on him during the investment roller coaster, no matter what. So, our hero sets out on a quest to find someone faithful and loyal, a psychic who'd keep their promise, even if it is written in invisible ink. As he ascends the stairs, he catches wind of a commotion. Someone's dishing out the dumbass label like it is going out of style. The situation's heating up, and it looks like whoever is quarreling is ready to throw down. Now, we see a silver-haired dude gripping a boy, clearly on a mission. This silver fox is practically demanding the poor kid to hook him up with a job, but the boy is just laying it out straight. Not many clients around these parts lately. Silverhead is not having it and insists the lad grab whatever job comes his way. In the midst of this workplace drama, our hero making a grand entrance. Better late than never. Now the silver-haired screamer does a 180, locks eyes with our guy, and there is a collective gasp. Suddenly, the silver hothead has transformed from an angry bird into a cool cat. With a wide grin, he struts over to our guy as if they are old buddies. Let us rewind to a time when Silverhead was not looking so intimidating. This was their first encounter, and he is also awakened just like Corporal Lee. We also get to see Corporal Lee, young and spritly, returning Silverhead's introduction with an equally pleasant smile and greeting. Back in the present, as Silverhead starts getting cozy with Corporal Lee, the Corporal throws some ice on the party with a stern reminder that they are not exactly but is enough to be exchanging pleasantries. So, giving the cold shoulder to Silverhead, our hero strides toward the other boy like it is no big deal. Meanwhile, Chubby Fella pipes up and asks Corporal Lee why he is even here, stirring the pot a bit. But Silverhead is not ready to let the drama die down just yet. He turns back to Corporal Lee and throws out a zinger, wondering if the Corporal had his own brain for lunch. With a flicker of defiance, Corporal Lee shoots back with an equally frosty glare. But Silverhead is not backing down. Oh no! He fires off another question, taunting Corporal Lee about forgetting all the good old memories and offering to refresh his memory with some real talk. Now we take a flashback into the past once again where we see the Corporal Lee, the budding superhero, is levitating objects with his superpowers, putting on a show for a crowd of students. But instead of applause, they are throwing shade, questioning if that is the best he has got and mocking him for not living up to the awakened one hype. Amidst the doubters, Silverhead, ever the voice of brutal honesty, lets loose with some colorful language, straight up calling Corporal Lee a loser. The objects Corporal Lee was levitating hit the ground unceremoniously. Their once majestic dance cut short. Silverhead's patience evaporates and he delivers a resounding slap to Corporal Lee's mouth. It is so fierce that it triggers a blood fountain. My guy sprawls on the ground and Silverhead stands there triumphantly raging because he is not about the whole Corporal Lee the awakened vibe. He goes off dissing Corporal Lee's powers is dumb and flat out calling him a dumbass. The threat is crystal clear. One more boast about being awakened and Corporal Lee might as well start finding a perfect spot for his grave. Now back in the present, Silverhead is serving the same cocky tone and energy to our guy. F an ally, we get to know that this guy is Lee Wel, a C-rank player with the fighter trait, proudly repping the Hope Guild. Silverhead takes it up a notch, threatening to throw it back to the good old school days and beat our guy to a pulp, making him beg for mercy just like in the good old times. In a classic power move, Silverhead orders the chubby dude to scram unless he wants a front row seat to our impending brawl. But our man, the epitome of casual coolness, fires back with a nonchalant give it a shot. Unfazed, our hero stares down Silverhead with the icy calm of a seasoned poker player, inviting him to go ahead and try his luck at murder. Corporal Lee must have hit the last nerve because Silverhead loses it. He winds up for a punch, aiming straight for Corporal Lee, who stands there like a statue, completely unimpressed. But the fierce punch freezes midair as a pen hovers menacingly in front of Silverhead's eye, ready to ink him a new one. Blades appear at his feet, forming a deadly dance floor of impending doom. The scene zooms out, revealing Silverhead surrounded by a battalion of blades, each one poised to strike with just a flick of Corporal Lee's wrist. Corporal Lee throws down some heavyweight words, admitting he cannot guarantee victory over Silverhead, but he can darn well make sure Silverhead ends up looking like he got bulldozed by a whole army unit. Translation: our man here can turn him into a half-dead, regret-filled shadow of his former self, especially in close-range combat. The realization hits Silverhead like a ton of bricks. He is outclassed by our guy, but hold the drama. Another character bursts into the room, announcing it is time to sket if they want to make it to the event on time. However, the newcomer is left wide-eyed and probably wondering if he walked into the Twilight Zone after seeing the chaos unfolding before him. Abruptly, Corpo Lee pulls a 180, playing the victim card and issuing apologies left and right to Silverhead. Out of nowhere, he wraps Silverhead in an embrace, leaving Silverhead utterly bewildered. Now, here comes the masterstroke of mind games. Corporal Lee starts spewing some gradable, claiming he heard rumors that Silverhead got the boot from the White Tiger Guild for wait for it, peeing his pants and bolting during his first raid. Hugh, a vivid mental image of Silverhead sprinting for dear life, courtesy of some unexpected bodily functions. Silverhead, visibly tensed, demands to know how Corporal Lee got wind of this embarrassing tidbit. Our man leans in, whispering a reminder that he has got a big mouth and advises Silverhead to shape up if he wants to avoid a public shaming by an F-rank player. Corporal Lee, not one to mince words, gives Silverhead the final boot, emphasizing the urgency to leave before things escalate any further. Outside the Hope Guild, everything appears calm and collected, blissfully unaware of the internal drama. Back inside, our man lays out the 3 guild cards he received from various seniors, spilling all the details about what is about to go down in these companies. The boy, still in disbelief, asks once more if it is legit. Are these stocks really about to shoot through the roof by those mind-boggling numbers? A simple nod from our man is the only reply needed. The boy's jaw practically hits the floor as the realization sinks in. If this intel is legit, we are talking about a life-changing turn of events. Outside the Blue Tree headquarters, a squadron of black-clad guards stands on guard duty, questioning how long they will be stuck on duty. One of them suggests spicing things up with a good old gate raid. But among these order-barking guards, Silverhead grinds his teeth, displaying an unusual level of agitation. His friend, clearly picking up on the vibes, asks about the sudden change in behavior. Just in the nick of time, their manager arrives on the scene, shooting daggers at the guards and labeling them as _servants, questioning why they are causing a ruckus in this supposedly reserved place. The spotlight shifts to a bulky dude who turns to Silverhead with a stern expression, questioning if he is the leader of this rowdy guard gang. The dude, clearly unimpressed with Silverhead, casually places a hand on his shoulder, reminding him that it is Zone C. And in case he forgot, he throws some serious shade, questioning if Silverhead even knows the damn alphabet, specifically Zone C. The humiliation train is rolling full steam. It seems like Silverhead has had enough of this verbal assault. In a moment of frustration, he unleashes a swift punch, shutting up the relentless trash talker. Giant Dude takes an unexpected leap into the air, leaving the other guard on the sidelines in absolute bewilderment. But Silverhead is not hitting the brakes. Instead, he unleashes a barrage of punches on the airborne guy, and blood starts splattering like a gruesome paint job. The force of each punch is so intense that the ground beneath them begins to shatter. Silverhead is not showing any mercy. With every punch, blood rains down, creating a gruesome spectacle. The other guards, standing by like helpless witnesses, cannot believe their eyes. The relentless assault continues until Silverad screeches to a halt. With a face oozing malice and vibes that would make a devil blush, he orders his lackey to go find Corporal Lee because he has got a burning desire to end that once and for the Hope Guild. The chubby boy, still reeling from the bombshell about the stocks, just cannot wrap his head around the possibility of them skyrocketing. This guy goes by the name Park Kelu, the leader of Hope Guild and an analyst class player. He is the one who later leads the charge in rediscovering Rank F and finds a way to enhance his abilities. He is straight up skeptical, admitting he just cannot believe it. It is a reasonable reaction after all. Anyone claiming they can magically turn your life around with money would raise some eyebrows. Park also throws Corporal Lee a curveball, entertaining the possibility that they fed him this stock information to set him up for a fall. Our man, determined to win this guy over, goes all in, asking if he really thinks he is untrustworthy. The boy responds swiftly and expresses his complete trust in Corporal Lee. With a genuine smile plastered across his face, Corporal Lee assures him to believe it all because it's the truth. To seal the deal and win over chubby Park Chelsea, Corporal Lee pulls out the big guns. He reveals the chat between him and the battalion commander. It is crystal clear evidence that he has been offered a proposal to join as an officer in the commission. With the undeniable proof laid out in front of him, the chubby dude finally accepts the truth. Now Corporal Lee, wearing a pleasant smile, reveals his ace in the hole. He is now offering all the savings his parents left him. He discloses that it is a modest 20 million won, admitting it is not a fortune, but it is what he has got. As we resume the story, the first thing we spot is Corporal Lee finally trusting this boy with all his savings, putting genuine faith in him. Now, we flash back to a memory where Corporal is crying his eyes out alone. Then this chubby boy comes along trying to console him and reassures him that nobody in this world is without talents. It is just that talent is given the name of one's superpower in this day and age. He tells Corporal not to beat himself up and to live a little longer until his talent is recognized as a superpower. Fast forward to the present, and Corporal is treating this boy like the human sunshine who warmed his chilly nights back when he was a nobody. Now we are getting the load on that in the near future. Humanity is about to bump into some other worldly beings who are pretty chatty. The tech goodies we snag from rubbing elbows with them are going to be a game share in the Gate War. These beings have skills that are downright essential in putting the brakes on the gates and waves heading our way. So, my guy needs an expert who can shoot the breeze with these intergalactic buddies and pass on their tech wizardry to him. Fast forward to Yongpo Blacksmith Alley, and we see the Corporal wandering around hitting up a merchant for the price of a Mona stone. Looks like he is gearing up for the future. And with 7 swan artisans by his side, he is on a mission to craft his first master-grade item. He is trying to gather blacksmiths whose status has gone beyond artisan to master. All before the villains catch wind of the plan. The story continued, and the boy strolls into this workshop, and the smith's there doing his usual thing. But this old grandpa, he just straight up tells the Corporal that he is only selling what is on these shelves. So he further tells Corporal to do not bother looking elsewhere. Just focus on these items if you want something. And let me tell you, this blacksmith is no run-of-the-mill guy. He is Artisan Kong Jiangdu, the dude who got the boot from the Blacksmiths Guild for his eccentricities. And trust me, you are about to find out why. In response, the Corporal just gives the old man a confused smile and casually says, "I see." Now, the smith is knee-deep in his work, too busy to spare any attention. Classic. Turns out this old guy is crafting something special. A javelin made of orcolin. It might look crude, but guess it is the Dragon Slayer spear that is going to be plunged right into the heart of the dragon. The Corporal finally clicks and realizes why the groundwork for the first master-grade items was laid in this Ramchal workshop. Now, a lady comes marching into the shop, straight up, calling the Corporal a crusty. But the blacksmith spins around and gives her a stern scolding, telling her not to label customers like that. But the lady snaps back, accusing the grandpa of hypocrisy. She points out that he calls customers the same names, so why cannot she dish it out, too? Despite being thrown off with weird nicknames, the Corporal sports a pleasant smile. It turns out this lady is someone from his past life, none other than Kong Baikal. 4 years later, after the old artisan Kong Jiang Du kicked the bucket, she inherited all his skills. This gal did not just stop at becoming a master smith, she surpassed even her master. Now she starts scanning him with her keen eyes and immediately recognizes the branded long trench coat and Laurent boots. She swiftly transitions from a cocky brat to a graceful lady, reassuring the corporal that he is not a crusty, but a customer. She asks him what he is looking for and tells him to just spill the beans. My man puts on a crooked smile, realizing that her blind money craze suits a dwarf perfectly. With her attention hooked, he decides to dish out all the ingredients he wants. For that, he forks over a total of 18 million won, leaving the lady over the moon with excitement. However, the old smith is clearly baffled, noticing that this young gun is not a mage. So, why is he buying poisonous magical metal and mystical tungsten alloy beads that he cannot even handle? Eventually, this guy's money is bound to be wasted. But the lady immediately chimes in, telling the smith to pipe it down and reminding him that he must have a place to use the items. The corporal also responds saying he just needs them and will be back to trade often. The old coup lets out a defeated sigh and mumbles a half-hearted sure. Now that he has snagged all the items he needed, he strides back throwing a casual goodbye at the lady who is sparkling with enthusiasm. She tells him to visit often since, after all, she is all about the money and that is the only thing she is interested in. As he takes a flashback, remembering her painful demise in his previous life, he is now fully fired up to protect her at all costs this time around. It is the middle of the night, but the bustling city streets are lit up like it is a clear day. Amidst the lively scene, there is a guy in a hoodie lurking in the shadows, seemingly keeping a watchful eye on someone. Here's our man with a bag full of poisonous items. He is casually picking them up one by one, treating them like marshmallows and chomping them down like it is no big deal. He is dead set on significantly increasing his poison resistance and the amount of metal weight he can manipulate before the vacation ends. I mean, who needs a midnight snack when you can have a poisonous power-up session? Out of nowhere, a system window pops up again reminding us that the absorption of metal is in progress and it is enchanted with poison. The major thing to note is that the notification says Corporal has ingested a poison enchanted metal and after absorption his tolerance to poison will increase by a small amount. It is mentioned that this process would usually take the same time, but since he has unlocked a breathing room, it is happening faster than ever. Let us sneak a peek into his body and see how things are getting torn into his stomach. As soon as the poison enters his belly, the breathing room kicks in, working its wonders and producing fire. Now, this fire immediately starts to melt down the poison. Due to his internal furnace activation, his metal absorption efficiency skyrockets by 250%. However, nothing comes without a cost, and this furnace activation inflicts severe pain on him. Consequently, his face starts to pale due to the intense pain inflicted. The system goes bonkers, bombarding him with relentless notifications about upcoming severe pain. Despite the intense pain he is enduring, he is dead set on chowing down on that poison. Time's ticking and the Seoul Station Gate incident is not waiting around. 2 days pass and a lackey draped in a hoodie finally spills the beans to his boss about Corporal Lee's mysterious whereabouts. The lackey confesses he has no clue what Corporal Lee is up to, but he has been locked in for 2 days and shows no sign of coming out. The Munanglo is sneaking into the room through the window and the entire stash of poison items lies empty. Finally, the window notification pops up again, revealing that Corporal has unlocked Tier 2 resistance to poison at a whopping 81%. Not only that, he has absorbed all the metals he chomped down, and his controllable metal weight has hit 17,499 G. And his metal detection ability got a major boost. Now, he can sense up to 500 G of metal up to 135 m away. So, now our guy is taking a moment to reflect on the progress he has made so far. He realizes that Tier 2 poison resistance is not quite as good as he expected. But he is relieved that at least he has enough controllable weight to carry about 60 daggers. And then the window notification chimes in again congratulating the dude for successfully passing the first latent breakthrough. And he has gained a new skill trait. The skill is called Metal Smash. It is a ranked D and its effect involves consuming mana to crush a certain amount of metal. The amount of mana consumed varies depending on the metal's quantity, making it a powerful skill that destroys metal. A wide grin stretches across his face because with this skill, he can disarm almost any piece of equipment in one fell swoop. The fact that he acquired this skill is good enough for the amount of skill grinding he did. He suddenly senses something fishy and starts scanning the area with his magical metal detector. Suddenly, an unexpected party crasher makes a grand entrance. And as it turns out, it's Silverhead again. But my dude isn't too surprised to see him. In response, he casually reminds him that he's a soldier now with all these rules and regulations governing his moves. So, he politely suggests that it's best for him to head back. However, a sly grin creeps onto Silverhead's face, making it clear he's not here for a friendly chat. Without wasting a moment, he lunges at our guy with lightning speed, fists ready to unleash a beating. Corporal Lee stands his ground, cool as a cucumber, and casually blocks the incoming attack with his silver hand, leaving Silverhead scratching his head in bewilderment. Silverhead isn't backing down, but Corporal Lee suggests taking the fight outside before the civilians get caught up in the chaos. But Silverhead is adamant and itching to teach our guy a lesson. With determination, he throws his feet into the air, preparing for another kick. Yet, our man effortlessly leans down, gracefully, dodging the attack. He retaliates by preparing his own steel fist, delivering a devastating blow to Silverhead's belly. The dude groans in pain, collapsing to the ground. Despite the brutal hit, Silverhead refuses to drop his cocky tough guy act. Gathering himself, he then whips out his enchantment, unleashing a beefed-up leg hit on our guy. Corporal Lee goes flying through the air, breaking through walls like he is auditioning for a superhero role, and eventually takes a nose dive out of the building, leaving a giant hole in its wake. The silver-headed troublemaker is not ready to call it a day. He is determined to end our guy. As our falling hero takes a mid-air breather, he activates his strengthening body transformation skill. His feet start morphing into steel, and right on cue, Mr. Silverhead reappears, swinging with all his godly strength. But like a ninja in a high-stakes ballet, our man pulls off a mid-air stunt, changing direction as if it is a walk in the park. He lands gracefully on the ground, revealing that while he might not be able to fly freely like he used to in his past life, a clever mix of strengthening, body transformation, and metal control skills lets him control his descent like a boss. This relentless troublemaker comes hurling down again, ready to crush our guy like a tomato with his enchanted leg. But once more, our man with lightning-quick reflexes casually takes a step back, leaving Mr. Silverhead crashing into the ground. Now the whole building's buzzing with excitement as residents peek out from their apartments to catch a glimpse of the impromptu showdown between two players. Silverhead, not one to be deterred, gears up for another attack while throwing insults our guy's way, questioning if he is just going to keep dodging like a ninja rat. He screams at the top of his lungs, challenging our hero to come at him like before. Ignoring the verbal barrage, he takes a leap into the air, unleashing a barrage of kicks. But it seems none of them are finding their mark. After all, our man is not just any ninja. He is a seasoned military ninja. The surroundings start descending into chaos, and the pressure generated by their moves makes everything heavier. It is so intense that cars are literally floating above ground. Alright, so here we are back in the building, and the crowd is losing their bananas. One person gives a quick heads up to the neighbors. Avoid the first floor like it is haunted because there is a bunch of rowdy players down there causing a ruckus. Now we see Corporal Lee is gracefully dodging kicks like he is dancing at a ninja ballet. But here's the catch. He is in a bit of a pickle. There is a gallery of civilians watching, and being the military officer he is, he cannot unleash his inner warrior too aggressively. Afraid that if he does, it will mess up his grand plans for the Soul Station Gate. After a dazzling display of 100 kicks in the air, our silver-headed hero finally plants his feet on solid ground. He then takes a peek at the peanut gallery, staring down from the windows, some even recording this epic showdown. It is like they stumbled upon the weirdest street performance ever. To avoid landing on the wanted list, Silverhead decides to end the spectacle before it turns into the hottest viral video on the internet. Now, brace yourselves because his legs start shimmering even more ferociously like he is pushing the limits of some cosmic leg day workout. Corporal Lee, however, stands there staring at this guy like he is asking if he is planning to turn the whole building into a pile of rubble. He reminds Mr. Shiny Hair that there are freaking civilians in the mix. With some serious authority, he yells at the dude, explaining that these innocent folks have zero business being dragged into their brawl. But Silverhead over here is on a whole new level of ticked off, claiming the public is just a bunch of trash bags sticking their noses where they should not. Undeterred, Silver Buddy takes another gravity-daying leap. Ready to put an end to Corporal Lee, but Lee is not flinching, not even trying any fancy spins or acrobatics. At this point, Corporal Lee decides enough is enough. His eyes start shimmering with this cool blue energy, and it is like he is manipulating iron particles or something. Out of nowhere, he forges 2 rings and with a magician's flair grabs Silverhead's leg. The poor guy's fancy footwork equipment starts shattering into a million pieces. But Silverhead, however, seems to have missed the memo on stopping, still twirling in the air like some out-of-control gymnast, ready to lay the smackdown on Corporal Lee. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee is over there doing his shiny thing. Just when you think it could not get more interesting, a notification window pops up like we are in some cosmic RPG. And we find out Corporal Lee's trick is called Metal Smash. It is a ranked D skill. And get this, it consumes mana to crush a certain amount of metal. Mana consumption varies depending on the metal applied. In the blink of an eye, Silverhead's leg goes from high-tech to plain old ordinary. But just as it is about to make contact with Corporal Lee, there is a sudden splatter of blood and screams of course echoing through vicinity. Now once confident Silverhead is groaning in pain and clutching his shattered leg, life comes at you fast. Especially when Corporal Lee is dealing the cards. Even though he is sprawled on the ground like a badly beaten-up action figure, this guy is still keeping up the tough guy act. He is questioning our man, wondering why the heck he did this to him. But our hero is not in the mood for games. With a cold blare that could freeze time, he shoots back at the guy, asking why he is taking things to the extreme. The poor sod on the ground mumbles something about killing mosquitoes if they dare annoy him. No doubt about it. Corporal Lee, not one to mince words, reminds him of his less-than-stellar past. He digs into the guy's sorry history, pointing out that there must be a reasonable low-life like him. Kicked out of a pack of wolves, is snarling like a wounded hyena. According to Corporal Lee, these superiority-complex drunks do not deserve to be players. It is because, in his book, they always end up being the villains. But hold on to your seats because it turns out Silverhead is not quite finished with a verbal, He starts laying it on thick again, testing Corporal Lee's patience. Our man, having zero interest in playing games, casually makes a finger gesture and a sharp metal object appears right behind Silverhead's throat. With all the authority of a drill sergeant and a voice that could give you chills, Corporal Lee warns him never to show his face in front of him again. And just to drive the point home, he throws in a chilling promise that if Silverhead did, it would not just be a leg missing next time. Finally, Silverhead seems to have reached his breaking point. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee is still fuming, grinding his teeth, all while reminding Silverhead to thank his lucky stars that he is a military officer. If not, this silver dude would be in a world of hurt right about now. Finally, the cavalry in blue arrives at the scene. We find ourselves now outside the awakened task force headquarters. Inside, Corporal Lee finds himself in the hot seat facing interrogation. The officer in charge remarks that witness statements are aligning, painting Silverhead as a problematic and vicious character. Now, if we zoom in on this officer, it is his first rodeo dealing with someone like Corporal Lee, a low-ranked player walking away from a fight without so much as a scratch. Corporal Lee, master of spin, casually attributes his survival to the greave, a shin and calf armor. With the green signal to go, Corporal Lee starts strolling out of the office, contemplating how he spent his whole life despising the F-rank player label. Little did he know it would come in handy, helping him avoid suspicions and walk away from a brawl, looking as fresh as a daisy. After Corporal Lee's departure, a newcomer rushes toward the officer with an urgent file in hand. Panicking, the newcomer insists the officer take a look at the profile. According to the report, the Silverhead got a serious beat down from Corporal Lee. The officer, mouth hanging wide open, finds the idea of an F-rank player crushing a C-rank player's armor and taking him down without a scratch. Utterly unbelievable. Meanwhile, outside the headquarters, Corporal Lee is picking up momentum. In the blink of an eye, he dashes out like it is no big deal. Even the civilians in the vicinity cannot see what is coming. They just feel a breeze as something zips by them. As he runs, the only thing swirling in his mind is the Soul Station incident. In his past life, he recalls the death toll starting at the gates of Soul Station around 1524 today. So far, 745 confirmed casualties, and aside from the first, second, and third waves, this is shaping up to be a monster disaster unlike anything humanity has ever seen before. As Corporal Lee continues his journey, he takes a moment to glance at the news. The reports are pouring in about the Soul Station tragedy, sparking criticism from player experts and civil society organizations. Questions are being raised about the fundamental limitations and problems with the current gate response system. In the present, while soaring into the air, there is a lingering tension that grips his mind. He reflects on his experiences with the first two gates, but this upcoming one is an unknown, so with limited information, he realizes he might need to adjust his plans. He is determined to prevent this disaster, especially considering this one is worst among all of the Soul City incidents, and he is ready to take any action. The clock is ticking, time slipping away. The only thought echoing in his head, will he be able to handle it with his current progress? Inside the station, Corporal Lee is surrounded by ordinary citizens. A part of him urges him to go on a rampage, evacuate the general population. But he knows better. Somewhere among these ordinary folks, a villain might be lurking in the shadows. If he goes into hiding during chaos, he will miss the turning point that could change the future. So, he stands in the crowd searching for any anomaly. The clock is ticking and there are only 2 minutes left. Suddenly, a voice catches him off guard. The scene shifts, revealing the platoon vice president running toward him. The story continued and the lady looks exhausted as if she just ran a marathon and confesses she has been looking for him for so long. With her big assets on full display, the lady goes into full scolding mode, giving Corporal Lee an earful. Apparently, news has spread like wildfire through the unit that Corporal visited the police station last night, and everyone's going crazy. Corporal Lee is left scratching his head, wondering how she knew he would be here. The lady, not missing a beat, reminds him that he mentioned having plans at Soul Station. As the lady continues her scolding, she throws a curveball, asking why Corporal Lee has not been picking up his phone. The dude is left in thought, scratching his head, wondering why the vice president is even at Soul Station in the first place. It is like a plot twist he did not see coming, and he is starting to ponder if he has accidentally become the master of altering the future. With 1 minute left on the digital clock, signaling the impending arrival of the worst gate in the world, the lady demands an explanation for his visit to the police station. She wants to know everything right here. However, Corporal Lee is not vibing with the arguing and questions. Time is of the essence, and the gate is about to pop out any second. There is no room for dilly-dallying. He has got a plan to stick to. As the crucial moment arrives, Corporal Lee wastes no time and casually tosses some marble-like objects onto the ground, leaving the lady bewildered, wondering what the heck he is up to. The crowd also loses its collective mind, throwing shade at him for this unexpected toss of balls. They are not exactly convinced he should be playing marbles in the middle of station. Meanwhile, the vice president is on the same wavelength, shouting at him and demanding answers. She is all about the "why are not you answering me" drama, completely missing the fact that Corporal Lee is not in the mood for pleasantries. Our man in charge is not here for chit-chat. He instructs the vice president that when he gives the signal, she better run to where the gas masks are. Once again, the lady is left bewildered because this is definitely not what she was expecting to hear from Corporal Lee. Meanwhile, a mysterious smoke begins to envelop the surroundings and the pressure intensifies as a thick purple aura starts to surround the area. Suddenly, a rift appears out of nowhere and a purple portal materializes in the middle of the station. All eyes are drawn upward to the portal, leaving the lady scratching her head, wondering what in the hell is going on. And out of the portal, a giant monster starts to emerge, and Corporal Lee immediately turns around urgently. He shouts and signals for everyone to run towards where the gas masks are. Now, this spider-like beast finally decides to grace the ground, kicking off the chaos and doom party. It then passionately lunges towards the poor civilians who are attempting a marathon to outrun this monstrous sprinter. We spot Corporal Hero lending a hand to the evacuating civilians. He then orders the platoon leader to hit the safety zone pronto and of course snag a stylish gas mask from the passenger aid station. Finally, it seems the platoon leader is not exactly vibing with this brilliant plan. She snaps back, reminding him that she is not planning on being a solo survivor. After all, she is a soldier, not combat personnel, and her mission is evacuating the civilians and playing nurse to the wounded. She drops the bomb that she is not entirely sure what on earth he is up to, but she is putting her faith in him. As the platoon leader, she throws down the command for him to stay alive at all costs. Our man is feeling this energy, vibing on the same frequency, and with equal gusto, he reciprocates. "Yes, madam." Now, the scene shifts, and we catch the battalion commander facing off with his senior, who seems less thrilled about the idea of promoting Corporal Lee, given his humble Frank status. However, the battalion commander drops a truth bomb, claiming that assessing someone's potential as an outstanding officer goes beyond the mere mechanical grading of ranks. At this point, the senior starts to feel a bit challenged and lets out a frustrated wet escape from his lips. This is where the battalion commander spills the tea, revealing that the whole rank system is not just about checking boxes on a player's profile. It is not like picking your character level in a game. These ranks are handed out at the player training center based on expected outcomes of traits and aptitude in raid fights. It is all about real-life battle effectiveness. And as the players level up, the department is tweaking the ranks to keep it real. He further mentions that undervalued skills are getting squashed on the field. By the way, the player training center is the boot camp of South Korea. Everyone who is anyone gets admitted gets schooled for about 2 months and then gets their initial rank after a basic test. Now we are back in the thick of it, where the battalion commander is laying it all out trying to get his boss to see the light about Corporal Lee's much-deserved promotion. But then his senior is not having any of it. Almost like he is asking if the battalion commander is trying to school him on military affairs. And let us not forget, this is not just any senior officer. We are talking about the one and only Brigadier General Cho Yun of the 3rd Ant Brigade, ranked 32nd in South Korea. A ranked player whose magic spells are so epic they could give any tactical weapon a run for its money. But the battalion commander, bless his heart, quickly backpedals with a "No, sir," not wanting to ruffle any feathers. General Choi is not letting it slide, though. He hits back, pondering why any self-respecting veteran would ditch their cushy civil guild gigs to join the AMP if they start handing out officer titles to, as he sees it, a lowly flunker like Corporal Lee. Then, with a tone as sharp as a freshly honed blade, he digs in, challenging the battalion commander on what exactly he finds so flawed with the military system as it stands. It is all a bit of a mess, but you have got to admit, military politics never sounded so entertaining. He makes his stance crystal clear, suggesting the battalion commander might see Corporal Lee as the next big thing. But to the general, Lee's about as intimidating as a bug. Just as the tension could be cut with a knife, the telephone rings, slicing through the standoff. The general picks up, and on the other end, the news drops like a bomb. A gate has popped up within the 1st Battalion's turf, smack dab in the middle of Seoul Station. And just to spice things up, it is not your garden variety gate. It is an unlucky event one. Both the battalion commander and General Choi are floored by the news. These unlucky events are like the universe's own brand of natural disasters, hitting specific areas with debuffs that could hobble a player or pile on extra rules that make missions a headache and a half. Now, back at Seoul Station, we are smack in the middle of this giant anomaly. There is a cloud-like barrier has swallowed the whole place up. Inside, players are doing their darnest to torch these spider-like monsters to a crisp. But here's the kicker. The fire is almost like a gentle breeze to these critters. Amidst the chaos, one soldier, probably with his adrenaline through the roof, yells out to his team leader, asking what in the world this spider monster is. It is not like anything they have seen in their field guide before. And just as he is pondering this new existential threat, one of the monster's legs, sharp as a spear, darts towards him. It is inches away from turning his head into a shish kebab. But there is a twist. Another soldier dashes in, moving with the kind of speed that would make a cheetah jealous. And he saves his comrade in the nick of time, leaving the spider's sharp leg to only meet the ground, which it punctures, sending debris and rubble flying. Meanwhile, another soldier is laying on the heat, trying to distract the spider with flames. While the other 2 soldiers are still catching their breath after that narrow escape from becoming spider cabs, the hero who made the save is not just any player. He is John Amnu, a Class C veteran player with a gladiator trait, rocking it in Seoul Station's Guard Team 2. Dion with lungs of steel yells to his crew to switch to a frost rune and tie down this beast's legs. His team does not miss a beat, quickly shifting gears to the frost rune. As the monster bellows like it is the end of the world, Jen gives the green light to blast this beast, and they unleash a cold fury on the spider. Before you know it, the spiders turn into a giant frost popsicle. The soldiers take a moment to catch their breath, relieved that the spider is temporarily out of commission. But John knows better than to celebrate too early. Given the size of this behemoth, he figures it will not stay frozen for long. They need to do some damage while they can. With that in mind, he charges at the frozen spider, ready to take it down a notch. He leaps into the air, aiming to strike the icy giant. But then, a closer look into the spider's eyes reveals a chilling fact. This creature's eyes are moving. It is fully aware of what is about to come its way. Immediately, the monster breaks free from its frosty shackles, shattering the ice as if it were mere glass. Dion, still midair with his sword poised for a decisive blow, suddenly finds himself in a precarious position, looking more like an appetizer, about to dive straight into the monster's gaping M. But just before the spider can turn him into a snack, John whips out his shield guard technique. And as if the gods decided to add a little more drama to the scene, lightning balls start zapping towards the spider, giving it a taste of electric fury. While John is up there doing his aerial ballet, the spider shifts its menacing gaze towards a new challenger on the battlefield. Now, Corpo Lee enters into the scene with all the authority of a seasoned hero. Lee strides towards the spider, exuding the kind of confidence that would make Superman tip his cape in respect. Corporal Lee does not waste a moment on small talk and dives straight into action with his metal manipulation powers. With a flourish of his hands, he conjures metal chains, snaring the spider in a metallic grip that tightens by the second. The process intensifies and the spider writhes in agony as the chains constrict. Lee is employing a technique known as Metal Smash, a rank D skill that crushes metal using mana. The more metal he manipulates, the more mana it consumes. As he is ramping up the pressure, the system sends him a warning that his mana is rapidly depleting, now at 84%. But Lee is on a mission. He is not here to play around. Ignoring the warnings, he intensifies the process further, and another alert pops up. His mana has now dropped to 76%. With a final push, his metal chains constrict with such force that the spider is smashed into hundreds of pieces, reminiscent of a watermelon hit with a sledgehammer. Jen watches in awe, his jaws practically hitting the floor at the display of raw power. It seems he is not only one whose jaw is hitting the floor, but everyone else in the vicinity is also left dumbfounded to see the spectacle. Greenish blood and limbs scatter in every direction. But amidst the chaos, Corporal Lee stands defiantly, basking in the success of his powers. With a newfound confidence surging through him, he is convinced he can take down this gate and whatever else comes his way. A wider grin spreads across Corporal Lee's face. Not just because he is about to save the civilians by stopping this monster, but also because he is eyeing the reward. All of it for himself. As the beast struggles to regain its footing and emits a terrifying scream that echoes throughout the area, Corporal Lee stands before it, utterly unfazed. At this moment, he feels invincible. A maniac reveling in his power against the colossal behemoth. He begins to manipulate the metal balls scattered around, launching a barrage at the creature to squash it completely, intending to drain every last bit of temper from the monster. The balls aim straight for the spider's vulnerable spots, attempting to penetrate its thick skin. However, the monster's hide proves too resilient, refusing to let the balls through. But Corporal Lee, ever resourceful, is not deterred. He makes the ball spin, adding a devastating twist to his attack. Realizing its predicament, the monster seems to understand he is Meanwhile, the Undersonicer is laughing like a maniac. Taunts the creature, asking how it feels to be churned up inside like ingredients in a blender. But the monster is too overwhelmed by pain to respond. Can do nothing but groan. Finally, it collapses to the ground, lifeless, as blood gushes out, marking the end of the beast and the triumph of Corporal Lee, who stands victorious. A testament to his formidable powers and strategic mind. At this point, John is still reeling from shock. He cannot wrap his head around the fact that the entire garrison of guards could not even scratch that monster. Yet, here's this guy, Corporal Lee, capturing it single-handedly. John has been through countless raids and encountered many high-ranking players, but he has never seen anyone as laid-back as Corporal Lee. He starts to entertain the idea that maybe Lee is from some mythical S-rank or class, the kind you only hear about in legends. But now there seems to be someone else as well grinding his teeth and seething with frustration. And this mysterious guy is afraid that Corporal Lee is about to steal all the glory and potentially ruin his quest by popping up out of nowhere. Finally, John turns to Lee, introducing himself as John Mann, who from the Sol Station Guard Team 2, and bluntly asks if Lee is an S-rank player. But Lee, cool as a cucumber, tells him not to jump to conclusions so quickly, leaving Jen bewildered by the unexpected response. Lee then casually mentions that the first wave is not over yet. Right on cue, more spider monsters start pouring out of the portal, leaving John dumbfounded. But Corporal Lee is gritting like a maniac over the moon to see more of these creatures emerging. At this point, Lee has one thing crystal clear. He is going to solo these suckers. And with that determination gleaming in his eyes, he is ready to take on whatever the gate throws his way. Now we are outside the chaos where a colossal black blob dominates the scene and the military has descended upon the area. It is not just 1 or 2 platoon. It is a full-blown army with the 1st Battalion and the 3rd Battalion both on the ground. Adding to the mix, the Blue Flower Guild arrives at the scene and one member remarks that the sight of military troops brings back memories. Another guild member suggests gathering all the mage players to unleash some battering magic on the ominous dome. However, someone opposes the idea, explaining that it is not just magic. It is a rule created by the system. Breaking through is not possible unless there is a way to override the system. So, for now, all they can do is wait for time to pass. Military choppers start descending onto the scene. We also get to see a red system alert that provides crucial information about the ongoing event. It is an unlucky event unfolding in the area, and once someone enters, there is no leaving. There is also an entry-level limit set at level 15, and the main goal is to survive for 6 hours or defeat the boss monster to escape the red area. The clock is ticking with only 39 minutes passed in and 5 hours and 21 minutes still ahead on the countdown. As the choppers finally touch down, figures of authority emerge, ready to take action. Among them are the Lady President of the Flower Guild and everyone's favorite battalion commander, who wastes no time inquiring about the Blue Flower Guild situation with players under level 15. With a touch of sass, the Lady President fires back, questioning whether the battalion commander truly believes the Blue Flower Guild would have players like that. She further challenges the notion of sending a rescue team inside, emphasizing that entering the area is tantamount to walking into certain death. Undeterred, the commander emphasizes the 800 innocent lives at stake and questions how they can prioritize soldier lives over civilians. He then reveals their trump card, Corporal Lee, who has been on a relentless rampage, slashing through monsters like there is no tomorrow. Suddenly, a sharp leg hurtles towards Corporal Lee, but he is quick to react, activating his strengthening body transformation skill and making a swift exit, leaving the spider's attack to meet only the unforgiving ground. As Corporal Lee gracefully glides through the air, the relentless monster is hot on his trail, giving him no respite. Thinking on his feet, he turns to the Soul Station Guard and instructs them to freeze the pursuing creature just as they did before. Dion immediately responds with a crisp understood, and the team goes into action, unleashing another barrage of frost rune blasts. The beast finds itself getting a literal case of cold feet as it turns into a frozen popsicle. Amidst the icy chaos, a new player arrives on the scene, eyeing a lady who seems to be deeply involved in freezing the monster. Out of nowhere, this interloper lunges at her with monstrous energy, attempting to knock her off guard. However, Corporal Lee, ever vigilant, jumps into the fray, utilizing his metal control powers to manipulate ball-like objects. With precision, he hurls them toward the spider, landing direct hits on the monster's belly. Employing his metal spin technique, Lee ensures the balls spin to pierce through the thick spider skin. The monster, now with balls inside, screams in agony before collapsing lifeless on the ground. With one threat neutralized, attention turns to the other monster, chilling in the icy aftermath. But unexpectedly, it breaks free from the icy mess, intensifying its roar, signaling that the fight is far from over. Corporal Lee, far from slowing down, is even more fired up and ready to send the monster to the same place his friend went. However, a warning pops up, cautioning him about his rapidly depleting mana.